fresh groceries.
What is that which the breeze on the towering steep, as it fitfully blows, half concealed, half discloses?
How it catches the gleam of the morning's first beam.
In full glory reflected, now shines on the street. 'Tis the star-spangled banner, oh, long may it wave, o'er the land of the free, and the home of the brave. Oh, and what wars desolation, blessed with victory and peace, may the hand-rescued land praise the power that hath made and preserved us the nation. Let
Okay, I got 3 more. We got a big lineup, guys. Big lineup.
Oh.
One minute. You must have read my headline.
From the coal dust in the hollers to the city lights that shine, from the wheat fields to the shoreline, this old heartland's still alive. Every generation standing on the shoulders of the brave, still carrying that fire that they fought and died to save. You can hear it in the distance, like a storm that's drawing near. A million voices rising up for everything that we hold dear. Where the rumble in the mountains, where the lightning in the sky, where the boots that keep on marching, where the reason freedom flies. When the storm rolls in, remember who stood tall and never ran. You can hear American thunder rolling across this land. Built these roads and built these railways, built these cities from the dirt, paid in sweat and paid in sacrifice, through every blessing and every hurt. We've been tested by the fire, we've been pushed but never broke. We're still flying, oh glory, while the whole damn world takes note. You can hear it in the distance, like a storm that's drawing near. A million voices rising up for everything that we hold dear. Where the rumble in the mountains, where the lightning in the sky, where the boots that keep on marching, where the reason freedom flies. When the storm rolls in, remember who stood tall and never ran. You can hear American thunder rolling across this land. Let the thunder shake the valleys, let the lightning split the night. Every star upon that flag still burns with freedom's living light. And if tomorrow brings a challenge, we'll answer like we always have, standing shoulder to shoulder for the red, the white and blue we have. Where the rumble in the mountains, where the lightning in the sky, where the boots that keep on marching, where the reason freedom flies. When the storm rolls in, remember who stood tall and never ran. You can hear American thunder rolling across this land. You can hear American thunder rolling across this land. American thunder rolling across this land.
Yeah, I got actually 3 more.
The U.S. launching a new round of strikes on Iran.
Okay, I got, let's do this one. I got 2 more after this. All right, you don't like this one, Lucy? Then you did.
Woe to you, O mailman and the squirrel, for the human sends the hound with wrath, because he knows the walk is short. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the treats, for it is a good boy's number.
True
Its
Pup.
number
True
is
Pup's
3.
back.
3.
My bed, my bowl was blank. I needed food to fill the rumbling tummy that I had. What do I smell? Can I believe the human brought a steak to cook and left it for the beast? Just what I sniffed upon the breeze was a reflection of my hungry mind playing tricks on me. The kitchen's black, was no use holding back. 'Cause I just had to eat. I had to steal the meat. In the dark, the furry shadow box. Was all this for real? Or just
It's 4.5.
a heavy meal? 3, 3, 3. The number of the trees. 4 and now it's time to have a feast. Tail is raised, the squeaky toys are praised as they start to cry. Hands lift the kibble to the sky. In the night, the living room is bright. The ritual has begun. The humans throwing me the bun. The scent is sweet. I'm dropping to my feet. I hear the crinkle of the plastic bag. It's time to eat. The kitchen's black. Was no use holding back. 'Cause I just had to eat. I had to steal the meat. In the dark, the furry shadow box. Was all this for real? Or just a heavy meal? 3, 3, 3. The number of the trees. 4 and how it's time to have a feast. The number of the trees. Born and how it's time to have a feast. I'm coming back. I will return. And I'll possess the sofa and I'll make you yearn. I have the bark. I have the force. I have the power to take the walkies on my course.
All right. Dogs should not play music. This will be the last one.
So people can keep working. Call, click, or stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
You don't have to love her.
4 minutes.
But
Last
you
one.
damn sure better respect her. Hey! don't play games and she don't sway. If you don't love it, get the hell out the way. Red, white, and blue, yeah, she's color-coded. And you best believe that she's locked and loaded. If you hate her stance, better pack it up. She might be a flag, but she's got backup. You can talk that talk, you can run that mouth, but that line right there, don't cross it now. We ain't out here looking for a fight, but we ain't never running from war. Look high in the air, that's a freedom blast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Red, white, and screw you, flying high on the mast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Let it wave, let it snap, let it crack like thunder. You can hear that water rolling under. 50 stars, 13 bars, better understand. You're dealing with the soul of a fighting lamb. Hey! There's a history stitched in every thread, from the blood that was spilled to the words they said, from a small town porch to a frontline stand. Same fire running through the same damn land. We don't bend easy, we don't break clean. Been holding this line since the birth of this thing. And if you think it's soft, go ahead, find out. That quiet right there, that's before it gets loud. We don't start nothing, but we finish it fast. Look high in the air, the freedom blast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Red, white, screw you, flying high on the mast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Raise them up high, let them wave like hell. That ain't just cloth, that's a rebel yell. 50 stars, 13 bars, say it again. You don't want to push where we've already been. We paid that price, we earned that day. We held that line through fire and flame. So say what you want, do what you will, but there's a switch right here. We can flip that wheel. Look high in the air, that's a freedom blast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Red, white, and screw you, white and screw you. Line high on the mast, high on the mast. 50 stars, 13 bars, and a can of whoop ass. Let it fly, let it burn, let it tear that sky. Every scar we got is a reason why. 50 stars, 13 bars, final stand. You don't mess around with this land. And that's just how the hell it is.
Okay, the opening videos of the show. I hope everybody liked those today. God bless America, troops, fast future. Shout out to our best president, first lady, first responders. And so, with that, we got, lucky I relaxed today. We got an hour, 10 minutes. Hour, 10 minutes, Billy, or now. I got a few other top, I wasn't going to play, but they're important videos to get out, I think. And I got like tons of stuff to get out. One video at a time, I guess. But we got some good news from the cat lady, you guys. Her dog made it through. So I got about 4 clips I'm going to play. And I got other few ones I'm going to start off with. A couple senators really attacked it. I'll show it to you. We'll get everything set up here. We'll be done, buddy. Chico, go down. You okay for now? Okay. Go down. Okay? Come on. Come on. You don't need nothing right now. I can't do it. Hopefully everybody will be in here today. We got a lot of good stuff again. This is the first clip.
Look at that baby. You want to say hi to your TikTok friends? Yeah. Because of them, you were able to get that thing removed. Caesar, you want to tell everybody hi? Say hi. You can't come in the seat. Guys, you would never know this dog was terminal. You would never know it. They had to keep him until after lunch because they want to make sure that he didn't start bleeding. And we are about to head home. And after he completes a few days of pain medicine, and the swelling goes down and we know there's no chance of anything, bumping that and bleeding it, then we're going to start our adventures. So actually the vet just said he's just going to be on this pain medicine for about a week. He's not in pain right now. So as soon as that starts, we'll know that that's getting closer to the time. But right now, that's not close to the time. Is it, darling? Say hi, Caesar. Say hi, Seaweed. It's Mama
Oh, let's say.
Yeah, I love you, baby. All right, guys, take care.
That dog went through a whole lot.
Look who I got back. Look at that map.
Okay, I got two more. Get up there. Come on.
I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing friends and I'm chasing sleep. Everybody's worried about me. In too deep. Say I'm in too deep. Yeah, it's been 2 years, I miss my home. There's a fire burning in my bones. So my power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song.
Okay, one more. Oh, that's the same one.
Violation for reposting a video that a man posted showing an Islamic guy married to a 10-year-old whose belly is big, full with a baby. I got a community violations for reposting that, but the actual video of the man sitting with his bride who's 10 years old, no violations found. Last thing, guys, I got a community guidelines violation.
Okay, then I'm gonna play the 3-minute on Melania, and go ahead and get the next 4 clips of the other ones I want to play before I play the Trump video with his speech this afternoon.
who were actually separated from their loved ones because of the war that is still raging.
Peter Ducey live at the White House with the latest. Peter.
And this process started when President Trump hand-delivered a note from the First Lady to Vladimir Putin himself during their Alaska summit almost a year ago. This is the 5th group of Ukrainian and Russian children that she and her team have helped reunite with loved ones. And in a statement that just came out, she says, while diplomacy and peace building are important to this effort, they are surpassed by our collective ability to place children above international disputes. Every reunion is a reminder that compassion, dignity, and family can transcend even the darkest of times, war. My representative and I continue working with the governments of Russia and Ukraine to safely return children to their families and communities. The First Lady's announcement today is about 5 children of the 35,000 plus Ukrainian kids believed to have been abducted by Russia and held inside Russia. She's been keeping a pretty low profile lately, but did talk about this the last time some families were reunited.
This is not an easy feat, but I applaud leadership from both nations in working with my representative and me to bring love and safety back to each individual who has been displaced as a result of this horrible war. I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve as First Lady, but understand that my persistence alone is not enough. Together, we can change people's lives for the better.
The First Lady's efforts here to reunite these families are separate from what her husband has been doing to try to end the war in Ukraine, except, of course, when she needs him to hand an envelope to Vladimir Putin. Back to you.
Gotcha, Peter. Yeah, there's a lot more kids to get back, but it's unbelievable that they are at least getting some.
It's
of them
really
back.
Russia taking the Ukrainian children.
Yeah. Correct. Ukrainians don't take Russian kids.
Well, and Peter just alluded to it. I mean, it's pretty remarkable that this is the First Lady in history that was quietly behind the scenes, back channeling directly with President Putin to get those children back, and it continues. Peter Ducey, thank you. It's such a great point.
Yeah, thanks, Peter.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now
guys,
on
this next
Fox 1.
4 are going to be crazy. What a moron.
When you become, I mean, you were personally, not just rhetorically, threatened. Your security, your safety, your family.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
I dealt with it by focusing on what my job is. From the time that I went into medicine to the right now where I am at my age, my job has been totally focused on doing what I can with the talents and the influence I have to make scientific advances to protect the health of the American public. So anybody who spends lies and threatens and all that theater that goes on with some of the investigations and the congressional committees and the Rand Pauls and all that other nonsense, that's noise, Margaret. That's noise. I know what my job is.
Senator Cruz told the Attorney General you should be prosecuted.
Yeah. I have to laugh at that. I should be prosecuted. What happened on January 6th, Senator?
January 6th, you brought up.
Do you think that this is about making you a scapegoat to deflect from President Trump?
Of course. You have to be asleep not to figure that one out.
Well, there are a lot of Republican senators taking aim at this. I mean,
that's okay. I'm just going to do my job. And I'm going to be saving lives, and they're going to be lying.
it seems another layer of danger to play politics around matters of life and death.
Right, exactly. And to me, that's unbelievably bad, because all I want to do is save people's lives.
Yeah,
and I mean,
right, you liar.
anybody who's looking at this carefully realizes that there's a distinct anti-science flavor to this. So if they get up and criticize science, nobody's going to know what they're talking about. But if they get up and really aim their bullets at Tony Fauci, well, people could recognize there's a person there, so it's easy to criticize. But they're really criticizing science, because I represent science. That's dangerous. To me, that's more dangerous than the slings and the arrows that get thrown at me. And if you damage science, you are doing something very detrimental to society long after I leave.
Why do you feel so strongly about that, about staying on?
What a joke. I'm going to replay this one. I'm not sure if everybody saw this.
Everything we're doing.
Former President Joe Biden heard here in an interview from 2017 with his ghostwriter, Mark Zwanitzer, assisting him with his memoir, Promise Me, Dad, with conversations that include multiple references to classified information he apparently had in his home, despite being between his years serving as vice president and president.
Some of this may be classified, so be careful with it. I'm not sure. So this was early on. In 2009, I just found all the classified stuff downstairs.
Some now criticizing these conversations because of Biden's reaction to boxes of classified documents found at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home.
How that could possibly happen, how anyone could be that irresponsible.
The Department of Justice releasing the audio recordings after a long legal battle. Biden spokesperson saying President Biden's conversations for a book a decade ago that discussed his late son are private and were provided to the Department of Justice on the express condition they stay that way. Reversing course and making them public is just the latest example of this administration weaponizing the DOJ for political retribution. In his 2024 report on Joe Biden's handling of classified documents, Special Counsel Robert Hur referred to these interviews in which he said Biden had diminished faculties and faulty memory.
Was I going to ask you something else? Oh gosh, I can't think what it is.
Democrats at the time criticized Hur's characterization of Biden.
The comments that were made by that prosecutor, gratuitous, inaccurate, and inappropriate.
These recordings are also garnering attention because they occurred in 2017, more than 3 years before Joe Biden would become president. His cognitive abilities as a candidate and as president became the subject of scrutiny, a key reason he ended his re-election bid in 2024.
The issue was about running for president.
You guys will like this one.
Of his, please sit down. Please sit down.
What could be more corrupt than that in genocide? This is part of the same time with you and Trump playing off of each other. Oh, he's worse. Oh, he's worse.
Can't hear it.
You were put on notice in November of 2023 by the Center for Constitutional Rights and
I hope
other
you can hear it. I
human
can't.
rights organization. Notice on potential legal liability for aiding, abetting, inciting, or conspiring to commit genocide for congressional acts and demand. You were put on notice, and you backed it, and you backed the genocide to the hills for years on end. How dare you talk about corruption? How dare you talk about corruption?
Thank you for your diatribe. Now, let's continue. Let's continue and let the people didn't come to hear you.
It's amazing that you can show your genocidal face in public, Mr. Senator.
Fix Paul, how's it going? Big lineup.
Shame on public citizens.
Look
for
at
not
him.
allowing questions to this genocidal maniac. Shame, yeah. Corruption. What could be more corrupt than not allowing questions?
Sorry about that. Let's continue. Trump has turned it into the single.
U.S. military launched a heavy wave of strikes on dozens of Iranian military and missile targets Wednesday night, retaliating after Iran fired missiles at U.S. forces in Jordan. Iran's Revolutionary Guard vowed Thursday to punish the aggressor as tensions escalate further. Israeli PM Netanyahu said President Trump is fully in control of the Iran war, calling himself the junior partner, and denied pressuring Trump to resume strikes during their Tuesday White House meeting. While remaining skeptical, Iran will negotiate diplomatically. Dr. Anthony Fauci will face a Senate contempt vote next week after invoking the Fifth Amendment over 100 times during a combative hearing, refusing to answer COVID origin questions, and accusing committee chair Rand Paul of an unhinged obsession with him. The Senate postponed a critical vote on Todd Blanche's Attorney General nomination after 2 GOP senators refused to back him without written proof that Trump's controversial $1.8 billion anti-weaponization fund, seen as benefiting Trump allies and January 6th defendants, is truly dead. The Trump administration will release $600 million in vaccine funding for the world's poorest countries after Health Secretary RFK Jr. held it up over unproven safety concerns, resolved once the recipient group, Gavi, agreed to phase out a mercury-based preservative. Former Obama lawyer Kathy Rumler told Congress she believed Epstein accuser Virginia Giuffre's abuse claims lacked inherent credibility, a statement that drew furious backlash from Giuffre's family, who accused Rumler of downplaying her own ties to Epstein. Police say bullets that killed 2 bystanders at Seattle's Bite of Seattle festival did not match the gun a 15-year-old suspect was firing, as evidence shows 4 weapons were used in the gang-related shootout that also killed a 19-year-old gunman. Trump unveiled a $22.5 billion 10-year plan to overhaul Dulles International Airport, including new concourses, expanded space, and a massive parking garage, with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and United Airlines CEO joining him for the Oval Office announcement. Here's everything that happened in America in the last 12 hours. The U.S.
Okay, let's play Trump speech. You just spoke.
Disaster. Just a few weeks ago, a Pennsylvania state trooper was killed by an illegal alien from Haiti driving a semi-truck. He was let in by Joe Biden and the open border policy of the Biden administration. By the way, today we have the safest border in the history of our country. And I don't even say this usually, but for the last 14 months, because it's almost unbelievable to say, but the media will correct me if I give anything that's even slightly off. As of 14 months, in the last 14 months, 0 illegal aliens were able to come through our southern border. 0. Last year alone, illegal aliens with commercial driver's licenses caused at least 30 deaths and many, many very seriously injured. As president, I made it our official policy to enforce English language requirements for truck drivers and support American truckers on American roadways. We've already removed more than 24,000 non-English speakers from behind the wheel. We've also forced states to cancel more than 28,000 commercial driver's licenses unlawfully issued to illegal aliens. They were given illegally. As we get illegal aliens off the roads today, we're also taking action to replace these unqualified migrant truck drivers with highly qualified American veterans. Under our brand new Freedom Haulers, we call it Freedom Haulers initiative, any American who has driven a heavy truck for our military will automatically be eligible for a commercial driver's license, and it's good paying jobs to any veteran with a heavy vehicle experience from the military will now be eligible to skip redundant road tests to obtain a commercial driver's license. We're going to make it as easy as possible for the veterans within 2 years following their active duty service. And for the veterans where no truck, where you have a situation where you have not truck drivers in the military, where you don't have truck drivers, they're going to be given a very quick pass. We're going to teach them. They're going to learn. if they didn't drive a truck in the military, but they're going to learn, and they're going to learn very quickly, and they'll be licensed in a matter of a few weeks, I think it is. They're going to take about 3 or 4 weeks of training. 34 states have joined this initiative, including Indiana, Wyoming, Louisiana, Arkansas, Alabama, Florida, and Maryland are joining us just today. And many of the representatives and leaders from those states are with us. It's actually a very big deal. This is a big deal. We believe that all 50 states and Washington, D.C. should join us in supporting these great veterans. And frankly, some of the states didn't know about it. They heard about it today, and I think they're all going to be signing up. Data shows that truck drivers who are veterans account for 42% fewer accidents. Think of that, 42%. And that number, they say, is a very minimal number, even as they drive the double the number of miles of non-veteran drivers. So to end this, very simply, the radical left wants more jobs for illegal aliens and more migrants in 18-wheelers. And Trump administration wants safer roads and more jobs for the American veteran. Now I'd like to ask a man who's done a fantastic job on this subject and many others, Secretary Duffy, to say a few words, followed by Secretary Collins, Nathan, and a great veteran truck driver, Ricky Washington. And I'll just stand here and watch. Thank you very much. Sean, go ahead.
So thank you, Mr. President. And to underscore your point, President Biden let in millions of illegals into this country. And he thought it would be a good idea that when they come in, they get a job, and they get a job driving a commercial motor vehicle. They didn't have the training. They didn't have the skill. We didn't do background checks in the last administration, so they could have had a mile-long rap sheet of crimes or drunk driving or speeding violations, but we didn't know who they were. And we saw that when those illegals were driving these big rigs, they were killing American citizens. You're a family that was on the way to Walmart, or you're going to church on a Sunday, you could lose your life on an American road. So because of the president's initiative, he signed an executive order over a year ago. It was the common sense rules of the road. And since you signed that executive order, we all have been working overtime to make sure we take illegals off American roads, and we give those jobs to great Americans, including great American veterans. So that's right. These are great paying jobs. They're anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000+ a year. And it's important because you have men and women who drove big rigs in the military who would then get out and have to go through months-long training for their skills and their knowledge test to drive this vehicle over here. Well, if Secretary Pete Hegseth thinks that you can drive a vehicle like this, Donald Trump and Sean Duffy think that you can drive a vehicle like that. So we have illegals are out, American patriots are in this administration. We've had more people, trucking companies call us and try to find, how do I hire more veterans? How do I bring the great men and women who serve this country, how do I bring them into my company? So you can go to freedomhaulers.dot.gov to get more information. But we are clearing the deck for you to get a great job in trucking. Mr. President, there's a lot of things that the radical left, as you mentioned, get angry about because they're radical. But safety for the American citizenry is bipartisan. This is not a political issue. This is an American issue. Let's make sure American roads are safe. Let's make sure we put great patriots who serve this country on American roads, well-trained, with great skills. And I think this is one of the great legacies of your administration. I am grateful for your leadership, putting America first, American veterans first, American roads first over the illegals who the last administration prioritized. It has been just an honor to work with you. And to me, he's a masterclass to see how this president operates. to watch him and learn from him is amazing. So thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. President.
Thank you, Shawnee. Mr. President, I can't think of anything else that says freedom more in our country than an open road truck and a veteran. Because you have veterans that said one thing, when they raised their right hand, they pledged what others would not do. They said, I will go and do what others will not do. And it is this country, when you told me, and I asked you that question, I said, Mr. President, what do you want me to do? He said, just take care of my veterans. So every day now, since the last year and a half, veterans at the VA are first and only in what we do. In this. So when Sean and I, we heard about this, and we started looking at this, some things that we have done, Mr. President, you're behind this and working to get veterans on the road. I can't think of anything more American. I can't think of anything that puts us first. Instead of the illegals who want to come take jobs, let's put veterans in the seats, making jobs safer and better for all Americans as we go along. Because veterans, look, you proved once you can do it. I know for a fact you can do it every single day.
This growth and impact is.
So that was today. We spoke to us a little bit ago. Continuing on with some more short videos. Till we get everybody in here for let's do this 10-minute one. This was yesterday, I believe. Right?
Anything that would diminish the 250 in history books. We also can't have anything from here in the golden age that would also diminish that, right? And even though you could spin something and say, well, it could be catastrophic, but we could twist it around later on the road. No, it would prolong that. It would push us further on out into that, meaning like that target audience.
No Billy Bean yet.
In conclusion, the progressive release of these core intelligence records fluidly prepares the collective consciousness for the ultimate engagement of the emergency broadcast system. To comment on anything you choose there, one, of course, is the importance of Executive 13848 within that dialogue, and any commentary on the emergency broadcast system. Your views, Derek?
Well, yeah, with the Executive Order 13848, the key with that is, in order for President Trump to secure his legacy, now, I say it like that, people would think that I'm contradicting the operation. I say that for the target audience out there that are still maybe in the laggard world, they're dragging, maybe sitting on the fence and, still learning things. For President Trump to secure his legacy, I mean, with every single topic out there that he is absolutely taken on, he would have to be successful in all of them, right? You couldn't even be a 80-20 because he is so unique, he's so different. And then also when he has made promises, right, to a guy like that who was not political, not military before, right down the middle, for him to be super successful, he would have to be accurate on everything, and election interference, one of them. But as far as the executive orders and national emergencies, he would absolutely have to be so different from what the past, because that's how they weaponized the deep state. They used national emergencies as a smoking mirror to be able to say the words laws and orders out of their mouth. That's why so many people are struggling with what I talk about, because they hear the words laws and orders and they've heard this for years. But it's the application of them. And you finally get a guy, whether you believe it's an operation or not, but you finally get a guy who's enforcing every aspect of the law. And then also you don't need multiple laws. The law's already there. You need an order that has the law to support it. And that's what President Trump represents. So that one executive order alone, September the 12th, 2018, well, there's already actions that show that it's being utilized, it's being enforced, but then also you got to bring that to a close. All right, and we got to terminate a lot of national emergencies. Well, Iran's one of them, and that's why so many people struggle with the term war versus a conflict. Every bit of what's happening in Iran is straight out of an Air Force pamphlet from way back in the day with Vietnam, 110, 131-10 or 110-31. I can go back and look at the numbers. I'm not an Air Force guy. But it's straight out of there, though. It's a conflict. It's not a war. All right. But there's an executive order from Jimmy Carter from November the 18th, 1979, which is older than me, that has an emergency, a national emergency, that's been continued every year by Congress.
We got a bell coming up here shortly.
Active right now. That's what President Trump's using. That's what he's using against Iran. So anyone out there saying, "Oh, he boasted on he didn't start a war, and all of a sudden he started one," oh, he did. You got to learn the terminology, and that's where you got to sharpen your skills and empower yourself and elevate your thinking. Right? He didn't start a war. This is a national emergency that's been going on for 47 years. All right, and that's when you'll hear me on my own podcast break down the NDAAs of 21 to 25 and what specific verbiage is in there that's never been in there before. But that would be during the quote-unquote Joe years. But then President Trump's the one that's fulfilling those. So there's so many things that you can point back to. But this one executive order and the National Guard, they have all of the data. Now, what's cool about National Guard and our cybersecurity teams is we operate the military off of analog, not digital. We can't be hacked. So when our teams are operating, we're getting all the data, real-time data on who is and who isn't voting. And then who's trying to hack a system. See, we can tap into those systems and we can see who's doing that. And it's real simple stuff for them because we're talking about IP addresses and tracking who it is, where it is, what it is, and how many are there. So we have all that, and that's what President Trump's talking about. And as far as emergency alert, I don't know what they're doing and how they're doing it in the sense of I'm not in a war room. But we can kind of speculate, and I just think that the way, personally, and I may be wrong, it's like a buddy of mine says, we always joke that we're 99% correct, but we got 1% there because we're human, and we know every single law that President Trump's using. We also know all the military portion because we're veterans, right? So, and then specific things that we're doing right now that we've got opportunities to do externally, but still, keeping our oath. So we're making guesstimated things. And I think the way that President Trump wanted to be exonerated, meaning like secure his legacy, it's got to be people from the other side. There's nothing he can say. There's nothing a general can say. There's nothing a Republican say, conservative. It's got to be the other side that does that. All right. And you've seen Jeb Bush congratulate him on Iran. You've seen a lot of things that of people that he said we're never going back to Karlov and Jeb Bush days. He said that way back in 2023. So you seeing people praise him in certain ways. Bill Clinton praised him with certain things. So you're seeing some of that, and that's going to increase. But then an emergency alert, the reason why I think that would be cool is, Q has its drop, but Q doesn't get specific on the hack. What I think they could do with the emergency alert is use it in a positive manner. Because right now, after our 250th, we can't have anything that would diminish the 250 in history books. We also can't have anything from here in the golden age that would also diminish that, right? And even though you could spin something and say, well, it could be catastrophic, but we could twist it around later on the road. No, it would prolong that. It would push us further on out into that, meaning like that target audience. It would take them, we'd push them further out into being accepting of such a brilliant operation by all of us that are operating in it. So emergency alert would be cool because everybody's phone, and I have two of them, obviously a work one and my personal with the old Game Boy, anybody remembers that, or Nintendo, right? So if you remember those days, right, what would be cool is if I always like to use a pub or a tavern or a bar, right, where most people are trying to go to get away from everything. They just want a drink, a pool table, a sports TV or something, where they're not thinking about anything political whatsoever. What would be cool, though, is if that's what they did use, and it would be long, it would be a long-term thing, but it'd be X amount of days for disclosure. But if they use the emergency alert system, that's every phone, that's every TV. It could be localized, it could be nationalized. It don't just have to be global or nationally, but it would be cool if that happened because then nobody would be able to say, John, is that AI? Are you sure? Are you sure that's not someone pulling your leg? Is that it? Everybody's phone would flip. Everybody's TV would flip. Everything. Yeah. And then that's when you have an Obama or someone massive on the left, not on the right, someone massive on the left, and I just use Obama, just saying because it's a massive figure, like you bring that in to the picture, and you get this guy going, hey, you know, President Trump and I have been working together, and whatever, you know, the disclosure like that, and people are going to be like, what am I watching? But then they won't be able to look at you or I and be like, hey, is your phone doing this? My phone's not on that. That must be a bit to separate what we have today. And you and I know AI it's great. I love it. But phones, everybody's got a phone in their hand 24/7. And then they're also on Instagram or TikTok. There's somewhere where it's got videos. So they wouldn't be a believer in that unless all of their phones are on the same accord, right? And they're not going to be a believer in just a regular disclosure either, because there's so much. You and I have all the answers as far as the blueprint of the laws and the orders of what President Trump's doing, and then that blueprint. And people, they won't take time to read, study, comprehend. We're not talking about patriots. We're talking about that general public, that their friends and family, the patriots who are telling them, hey, read, study this, comprehend. They're not doing that. So what would get their full attention on both sides of the aisle? I think it'd be a cool strategy to use the emergency alert in a positive manner, not a doomsday, but in the positive for disclosure. And it's kind of a finally, like, you know, sit your you know what down and shut up, right? Moment where it's like, okay, we've done everything here, and here. Now we're ready to full-fledged disclose.
Okay.
We are at war, and we must.
Latest on DJ. I guess we'll go ahead again now. We got our first hour already, so we'll get now hour 10 minutes, you guys. No Billy Bean yet. But I want to show this real quick. But I can't find those clips I had about yesterday. I got to find those. I'll play them after Mel. This is Mel's page. It says, the Federal Reserve will inject $5 trillion into the economic today. $5 trillion out today. Oh, I'm going to show. I got a few more photos I want to share real quick. Anybody see this yet? Anybody want some coffee? $1.5 billion.
You can judge me all, you can tell your stories, but I won't be. I am what I am, I ain't sorry for it. I make my peace with
now I gotta find Nell's video now. All right, hour 10, guys.
Morning, morning, morning. How are we? How is everyone? Boy, we've got another big show for you today. So let's get in. I just saw Muzz is in the house and he's ready to ask a question. We hope to catch up with you very, very soon, Mr. Muzzer. Okay, I have discussed the restructuring of government departments before. What was very, very interesting, there's going to be a bit of a lag by the looks, but that's okay. So let's have a look at what is going on. We're seeing many reconstructions of governments, governances, premiers, presidents, prime ministers. There's an incredible amount of movement within that structure. Now, we know for many, many years, those of us who have been around for just a little while, have actually seen many, many changes. And not only that, we've seen departments have been deleted, merging of departments. And I speak of this in Australia because I can physically see it in this new My ID app that it's not really about your ID, it's about the incorporation or the restructure of your government per se. So this particular article out of Iraq is very, very interesting. So they are doing some major changes in Iraq. We've just recently had, as I said, a new prime minister. He's already attended to business in Washington, in Iran, and many other places. But he's also doing his work at home in Iraq. And why is this important? It's because of the currency revaluation or the currency reset. The dinar is going to be the father of the dollar. We know that. We're also seeing some very interesting things coming out of another dinar land, so to speak, and that is Libya, which we will touch on very, very shortly. However, let's go to the big fundamentals of what we can actually see right now. And what we can see right now is that they are public, they're changing their forum to the public in Iraq. So this one was quite interesting. They have a public department and a name change for each of these divisions. So as I said, I can see it happening here in Australia, okay? And they're changing names. This is very important, and we'll touch on this as we get along in a little bit later. The Directorate of Institutional Supervision Non-Banking Finance, which was the title of their this particular division within their banking or their government, is now changing its name to Department of supervision of non-banking financial institutions banking. Now, this is just a name change according to all of us. However, there was many other transfers, and one of them was the transfer of the operations department from the Department of Information Technology and Payments. Now, that's what I want to be seeing. The Technology and the Payments Department has also changed one of its operational sections or divisions, and they have now renamed that Department of Information Technology and Payments to Department of Accounting. A pretty broad statement, you think, but I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, this restructure in Iraq's central bank, and we're going to talk about others shortly, but this particular restructuring is eliminating and accountability in a central bank, Department of Accounting. Oh, I'm liking that. Now, there was many more of these changes and divisions, name changes within the Iraq Central Bank, and a lot of us just kind of skip over those articles because, oh, it's just another article, you think. Well, think not. As I said, name changes of departments and that are across the world. But all of these changes that they have indicated inside of this Central Bank of Iraq will be implemented no later than July the 30th. Ooh, what's doing? Oh, let's just continue. Stellar Network, the network, of course, that is part of our payment system that we were just talking about. Well, they've advertised just recently that the time has come. And what time would that be, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we're about to find out also on Thursday, the 30th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. They're going live and they're going to be talking about what's next for Stellar. And they're saying what Stellar was built for has arrived. As we have touched on a couple of times just recently, Stellar Network is for that of we the people. Okay, so this is that transfer of wealth, and wealth can mean many things when it comes to the Stellar Network. Wealth is a currency exchange as well as a frequency change. There's more to all of this, ladies and gentlemen, but I look forward to seeing Danielle Dixon and a few other conglomerates coming together. And what are they going to be discussing on the same day that Iraq is just happening to be, you know, making some major changes in their central bank? Coinky dinky. The Central Bank of Syria, here's a very interesting one. We stick with the Middle East a little bit today, as I said, because the father of the dinar and many countries coming together. The Central Bank of Syria announces their new lira. Now, I almost want to have a drink over this one. We talk about Turkey and, of course, the Turkey lira, and I've often said I wonder how this one's going to play out. With the Central Bank of Syria being pretty much the one of many empires, I guess you can say, within the Middle East, you almost got to think, is Turkey going back to Syria? Well, their currency could certainly be doing that or linking to that. This will be released on July the 31st. And with the exchanging of their old banknotes completed by July the 30th. So they've really kicked into gear. Now, who would have guessed a country, a war-torn country such as Syria, discussing their currency notes? And congratulations to the fantastic Tom show. If you haven't watched it yet, you need to go back and watch that. Tom, of course, did a whole heap of research on that, the polymer notes and how notes are going to be more secure. You should go and have a look at the new lira for the beautiful country of Syria and how it's all coming out on July the 31st. Well, let's go to Africa. Many countries, of course, from the Middle East merge into Africa. They do a lot of trades within those two countries. They're also developing road developments, which also link up with rail. But let's go to the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. I've actually talked about this before. Nigeria was one of those countries that we used to always get from the call centers, didn't we? And of course, they actually integrated their new quantum system in Nigeria. My understanding from my research, based upon what I think I know, Nigeria was one of those countries that they actually converted a lot of those currencies, and the integration of the quantum system actually happened in Nigeria because of the corruption that was within that country at that point. But here's an interesting fun fact. The director of the World Trade Organization and the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria are leading discussions in Africa. They're going to be discussing their emerging markets forum and the strategies for strengthening Africa, growing global economic potential. How interesting is that out of Nigeria? Like I said, we saw many central banks being restructured. Of course, I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. It's my understanding that France and Spain will have the central banking of that being in Europe. Spain, I think, may have won the World Cup, but they also won a few other things. So we have all of that. We have Spain and France joining hands, basically, for the new European banking system. We have Brazil, of course, taking hold of the South American, Latin American. We also see, of course, Singapore for Australia and Malaysia. It almost sounds like the Seven Kingdoms, doesn't it? Anyway, and of course, as I said, Iraq and Iran will merge as well. But we're also seeing countries such as Nigeria, who, as I said, are between Nigeria and South Africa. Zimbabwe, those two will actually join. So the Central and the South, I believe, will join within that public forum or in that public payment system. And that's why we're seeing this coming out of Nigeria, one of those central points of contact. What's happening in the UN? As I said at the beginning of the show, we talked about different departments. We're also going to be talking about name changes. Again, I've talked about the World Economic Forum will be changed to the International Forum. United Nations, do they have a name change? We'll see. But I believe it should be Nations United. But what is going on in the United Nations? This was quite an interesting one. There's a lot of new things in the restructuring of United Nations. We, of course, saw Melania Trump ringing the bell, so to speak, on the fact that United Nations was changing. On July the 30th, the UN, the 15 members of the Security Council, will vote in a closed-door anonymous straw poll for the very first time, for the first time ever, on their preferred candidate to the position of the United Nations Secretary General position. There's a first time for everything, ladies and gentlemen. However, there are 6 candidates for this particular position in the UN, and they come from Argentina, Chile, Senegal, Ecuador, Israel, South America, and in accordance with the traditional of geographical rotations, which, by the way, has never really been respected for the UN. United Nations, as I said, used to be the actual process behind United Nations that each country or each sector of the world would have an opportunity to unite the world, which in accordance with their traditional geographic rotation in the UN Security Council, that's never really been respected. It does look like the lovely Latin American sector is going to have their turn. Keep an eye on Ecuador. Just an interesting note. Okay, now let's get to the processes, all some major fundamentals. When it comes to our foreign currency exchanges. And this is the ones that we actually watch for, of course, the integration or the changes to the currency revaluations. This one might get the juices flowing. We will talk a bit more about this, of course, in digital assets on Friday. However, I'm going to bring it to your attention. So listen up. IOTA has just connected to Pyth, or Pith, Pith, I think they call it, Pyth Pro, July the 31st. Now, why is that so important? Well, they are reinventing the market data supply chain. This is, of course, your advanced trading, your exchanges, and they have all collaborated with industrial leaders and government agencies. Again, this whole blockchain or this quantum system is taking control of government agencies, hence the restructure that we just touched on earlier inside the central bank. Once this implementation of this quantum system comes together, it actually eliminates or reduces the amount of departments within these governments, and they will then become governance. So they only govern what they actually really need to govern. The rest is given to we, the people. So this is really interesting because, again, it's not an endorsement, but I certainly do put this out there. These industrial leaders also include the CBO, Jane Street, one of my favorites, Revolut, and we will touch on that a little bit later, and the US Department of Commerce. Again, the US Department of Commerce. You see what I'm saying when we talk about the restructure or destruction of the government agencies. So they're taking all of this and they are addressing the systematic inefficiencies of the old system in the exchanges, vendors, trading firms, and the banks. So this emergence of this Pyth network or PS network into IOTA network is much bigger than what you realize, ladies and gentlemen, much bigger. This is the new connection and reduces any mini intermediaries in that being in your stock exchange. Okay, so this is a network that gives you instantaneous data of the markets 24/7. It supports coverage into one distribution, one-to-one distribution network with over 2,000 feeds to include equities, futures, ETFs, commodities, which we will touch on, the Forex exchange, cryptocurrencies, and fixed income. Very, very important, I think, this particular one is going to be. The data, as I said, is going to be updated in milliseconds. This levels the playing field for instructions for all institutions of all sizes and grows the pie for everyone. Now, that's not me saying it. This is in their white paper, IOTA and Pyth. Okay? This is very, very important. We also must remind ourselves this is for exchanges, trading firms, and banks. We are utilizing the clearinghouses of our Forex exchanges as our payment system for you, the we, and the people. Okay? What's also interesting is that they are able to monetize their data and gives access to global markets with accuracy and transparency. This is the redesign of all your markets. So you want to be keeping an eye on this one. When does it happen? Oh, July the 31st. the integration of your new market, ladies and gentlemen, your Forex market, your Forex exchange. I think this one's a little important, don't you think? But what's even more important is that when we go into this new phase of transfer of wealth, we're going to touch on a little bit more on Finance Friday, but I am going to bring it to your attention. I have stated and recorded in private groups regarding my perspective on humanitarian projects, and I've often said, and I've often shared inside the digital assets on Finance Friday, that it's important that we start to educate ourselves on cryptocurrencies and whatnot. Well, the RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, also released on the 26th of July, the same day I happened to mention, that the banks was talking to me in their redemption meeting, so to speak, that they told myself and a few others that the redemption centres and everything are done. They're ready to rock and roll. They moved their positioning on not the redemption or the exchange rate. I did state on Finance Friday that they were discussing the training sessions and the business events that they are going to be putting together starting in August. Now, the RBC, the Royal Bank of Canada, comes out the same day or the day after I happened to mention this, and are talking about a very important free cryptocurrency training session. It runs for 6 weeks for 2 hours per week. It includes an online course with a certificate after the 6 weeks, which means that you need to watch those few videos on cryptocurrencies so that you can have an understanding of the technical and the analysis of cryptocurrencies in your banking system. Boom shakalaka for me. Well, what would I know? I don't know anything much at all, ladies and gentlemen, but just putting it out there so that people start to understand. I do not make stuff up. I do my research, and it was just quite interesting.
We got 22 minutes in of an hour 13.
Interesting that we're starting to see more and more training sessions coming out from many banks across the world. Just putting it out there. Let's go back to, of course, this trading Forex and this integration into the Pyth network on July the 31st. It lines up with quite an important sector that the US Commodity Futures Trading Commission, or the CFTC, are also going to court regarding a Minnesota ban on the predictive markets on the 1st of August as well. I wonder if it's because this new pro system that's just connecting may actually stop all of the predictive markets. This is the manipulation, or the intermediaries, that being your Commission's Futures Trading Commission. They are an intermediary into you the people, going the level playing field with your foreign currency markets and your trading markets, your stock markets, your commodity markets. This reduces the intermediaries. This is very, very big. No guru's going to talk about this stuff, but IOTA and the Pyth network coming together is very important. I would say this is to do with predictive markets. It also is to be said that, of course, Google are also part of this, and they are saying that they are also cutting ties with predictive markets or prediction markets on August the 1st as well. And we all think Google's bad. They're actually stopping all the predictions in the markets and all of these intermediaries, putting in their little bits of data to manipulate the markets. Oh, yes, things are getting a little interesting, to say the least. August is going to be a hot month, and it certainly is. We started today with, of course, the Iraqi dinar, or the dinar being the godfather of the dollar, so to speak. Well, I did say let's stick around for the Middle East. The Central Bank of Libya has also announced it will inject 1 billion dinar next week, or this being this week, to finance letters of credit alongside another 1 billion dinar for personal foreign currency allowances and online booking requests. Now, I kind of pondered on that. I don't know, 1 billion dinar for personal foreign currency allowances and online booking requests? Does that sound like a big exchange thing happening? I don't know. Could be. Anyway, the banks in Libya will also be extending their working hours to facilitate cash sales of USD. I don't know about you, ladies and gentlemen, but that kind of got me pretty excited. And we didn't even get a mark on that particular article. I think you should start reading these articles. Anyway, just put it out there. They're also injecting 5 billion dinar into commercial banks to improve their cash availability for citizens of Libya. Commercial banks. We've talked about that one too. Commercial banks are having a major restructure as well. Their policies, procedures, and the way they function are also changing. As I said, the lending program, and I'm talking even in here in Australia, is changing and altering. And of course, again, it eliminates the intermediaries within that commercial lending platform to change and alter as well, because they're talking about improving the cash availability for citizens in commercial lending or commercial banks in Libya. Comprehende. Think about that for just one moment. It also is focused on its August plan. So Libya, the Central Bank of Libya, have come out and said they have an August plan. August is hot. Let's digress. They are expanding their electronic payment services. Do you think that's not important? I think it is. The Libyan dinar exchange rate, of course, was also discussed in this August plan. The Libyan dinar. Wonder if that's going to link up to the Iraqi dinar or the Jordanian dinar or the Kuwaiti dinar. Like I have said previously, I often wondered that all the dinars come together. The godfather, the father of the dollar, will be strengthened because of all the dinars come together on a level playing field. Not just said it once or twice, ladies and gentlemen. I have said this a few times, but hey, we'll just wait and see, okay? Let's wait and see. Of course, let's go to the Clarity Act. Oh, my goodness gracious me. We are expecting it to be signed before the recess on August 8th, the 88 miles per hour. I expect it to be done pretty much late on the 7th of August. We touched on that one, of course, last week, or Finance Friday. Anyway, watch for the Clarity Act, the final signing off, so to speak, before the August 88 recess comes into play. I think I'm going to need a recess or a reset myself after the 8th of August. Anyway, Cameroon launches its major gold tax recovery operations. They are still restructuring their government sector. That operation commences also on August the 1st to recover $524 million of unpaid taxes and customs. They are hammering down on the nefarious mining within Cameroon. Of course, this will be for their undeclared gold exports, I should say. But those experts that have been running amok in Cameroon, I think, are going to be collected on the 1st of August. And that will be historical. Talking about historical, well, gold historically is stronger in August and in September. It is a known fact, ladies and gentlemen, that your gold historically is stronger in August and September. Well, we'll just keep an eye on that one, won't we? South Korea, its largest commercial bank. Oh, we go to commercial banks again. How funny is this today? Launches its blockchain-based cross-border payment services for corporations, importers and exporters using JP Morgan's Kensix platform, only in commercial sector. It's not yet for the public. Watch South Korea, as I have stated before. I think North Korea and South Korea become one. I think they already are, to be quite honest. But hey, we'll let that one just play out. But they are definitely showing us, as I said, in the commercial banking sector, even in South Korea, they are making alterations in the background in that commercial sector. Elon Musk, of course, comes out. He's talking and groking out that Grok 4.6 is expected to be launched on August the 7th. You can't make that up. Anyway, and a large Grok 4.7, a 47, will be planned a few weeks later. I think we're going to start seeing this technology boosting, or this release, I guess, of frequencies, including in Grok, okay, where we go from doot to doot to doot to doot. We're actually scrolling people's frequencies. That's another way of putting that out there as well. Let's not forget, August the 12th, of course, is a total solar eclipse, which will sweep across none other than land green, or Greenland, Western Iceland, land of ice. Let's break the ice wall with darkness. That would be fun. The northern Spain. Well, Spain, as I said, did win the FIFA World Cup. And they're going to go into a little darkness. Is this more of a blackout, that they incorporate that new financial system that we've just been talking about? And of course, this total solar eclipse is expected to last for 2 minutes and 18 seconds of darkness. It's probably going to feel like 3 hours to some people, but it's 2 minutes and 18 seconds. We can't forget also, of course, the planet.
Okay, 32 minutes in, and we got about 20, still about 35.
Alignment, the 6 planets are aligning up on August the 12th as well. That's 2 days ahead of schedule for August the 14th. The love heart of each month is on the 14th. Let's just wait and see. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that. That was, again, quite a big show. But anyway, God's Elf, how are we today? And who have we got to get us rolling in the Q&A?
I know I'm doing great. If I was any better, I'd mess it up. And it's me, Lizzo. You're up.
It's me, Muzza. What you doing? Muzza wazza. He may have accidentally put that up.
All right. Well, let's move on to Sis T. Sis T, did you have a question?
Dun, dun, dun. Must be slip of the fingers.
But even if y'all accidentally hit the raise the hand button, just let us know so that we can move on. The next person I don't see anymore, but I think they're still in the audience. That's Charlotte. Charlotte, did you have a question?
No one wants to talk to me today. You still thinking and digesting?
Angela, did you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Hi, Mel. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Angela. There's been puppy dogs in the background there.
Yeah, sorry. I saw on the news yesterday that the banks here in Australia now, they're doing the mortgages, that the offset account wasn't connected to the actual mortgage account, and they're going into investigation on that as well. Do you think like we'll be getting money back on those sort of things, or?
Oh, just a little adjustment. Yes, I do certainly believe. I'm very, very excited about that. That is not a bad thing, ladies and gentlemen. Don't be emotionally upset about that. Thank you, Angela. I really do appreciate you. That is fantastic. Welcome. It is very good news. And as I said, this is that restructuring of the banks. They now have to show accountability. And I expect that money to, if it wasn't linked to your offset account, boy, did they not have a few things to answer for. And I just saw the beautiful Charlotte just popped up. So yes, so I believe that is part of it. Yes.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people had got evicted, myself one of them. Yeah, and we had to fight tooth and nail to get the house back. And yeah, so that's what I wanted to know. Like, will they do accountability, and will we get money back for what they did to us?
Oh, the damages. Let me put it to you this way, Angela. I've been all day in court overnight. Well, it's been overnight for me. I've been in court, Supreme Court in New York, all day today, with accountability of banks today, Angela. So rest assured, my darling, there will be damages and they will pay. And
even though, like, we had to refinance, and it's a weird mortgage thing that we're on now, but to get the house back, we had to refinance, and it's like all the interest is paid up front, but then we've got until December to sell something to pay back that mortgage. Like, hopefully things will flip before then. But yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get reparations for what they did to us, the other banks?
Oh, look, I'm expecting it. As I said, I'm fighting my own fight at the moment as well, sweetheart. Understand that. I don't stop fighting. But I believe that will happen. And the fact that the fact that you've mentioned that the structure of your new refinance is quite strange and quite weird. We actually had this discussion, Aussie G and I, just recently, when she's often openly spoken about her remortgaging and refinancing of all of hers as well. Yes, it's very strange how these new refinances are happening. As I said, I expect them to go away. I really, truly do. And I think that reparations will be paid. Interest will be paid back immediately, I would hope and expect, and any damages that may have incurred during that time. I think there is going to be a limit on the damages, Angela, only because of the influx or the number of people that are actually going to be part of this. You're not the only one, as I said, but I expect many, many things to come out of that, and reparations, I believe, are set in the background of the courts, that the damages will be a set fee and you will get damages paid back as well. So,
right. Thank you, Mel. Thank you so much.
All right. Absolute pleasure. And yeah, Godspeed with you, darling. Hang in there. It's it's tough. It is really, really tough. Beautiful Charlotte. I believe we did call you just a short time ago. Charlotte, how are you? No? Yes, no? Charlotte? Who else have we got? God's Elf?
There was a Johnson up, but I can't read my chicken scratches for the first name. It started with a D.
Dave, I think it was. Dave. I think it was Dave. Dave.
First name begins with D, Johnson.
Dave, I think it was.
Okay, it could be. I don't know. I'm sorry. Brian Durkin.
Hi, Mel.
Hello, Brian. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold, so I might be a bit of coughing and farting during this, so give me a break.
That's okay.
Just want to say thank you for all the information that you provide us. It seems to be, well, it is researched, and we know that. A lot of the other gurus out there seem to be sharing the same crap from day to day, but yours always seems to be very positive and very genuine. So what question I've got for you, you probably answered previously, is about the RV. If you can help me with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
My question is, if I've got about, say, 10 million Vietnamese dong here in Australia, and the dong revalued at 1-to-1 USD, so it's worth about 10 million USD. Being in Australia, the one USD is worth $1.40 Australian. So does that mean instead of getting $10 million, I would get 14 million Australian?
Correct. Your calculations are based upon that algorithm. Is correct.
Yes. Fantastic. Yes. Next question. Because all these funds have gone digital and they are deposited into the QFS system, and I believe they know how much we've got. When this does happen and we have to, we end up at a redemption center or a redeeming bank, what happens to the VNG currency? Do I take it along so they can destroy it, or, you know, take it off the street, out of the market? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic. The last question, quickly. When the money is deposited digitally into the QFS account, can I assume there will be no tax, no capital gains tax, because all taxes are cabal taxes?
Okay. There is no taxes on the exchange, but you can always double check because they're changing everything all the time. In Australia, you just go to the ATO foreign currency tax, or just put in foreign currencies, and you'll get a small section just on foreign currencies, and they talk about that there is no taxes on the actual exchange. However, when you go to purchase something brand new, there will be taxes on that. There is no capital gains tax on foreign currencies, and that is being eliminated as we speak. In fact, they had a 20% reduction in capital gains, which I think starts to become implemented, I think, in November this year. Watch and see what happens there. Does it completely get eliminated? Come November, we are expecting another round of upgrades and changes, Brian. So I would expect a lot of those taxes, yes, will disappear and will be restructured or replaced with a tariff as well, because we go back to tariff. Here in Australia, Brian, it's very interesting. We actually go back to what we call the Royal Assent, ASSENT. You can certainly go back and have a look at that. That was implemented on the 20th of February 2022, I believe. Was it 2022, I think? So that was implemented in the background. When does that become applicable? As I said, it was implemented, but it hasn't actually come into force yet. I expect to see, as I said, some major changes moving into the November or the second half of this year. I expect to see a whole heap of those changes coming in for all of that. But we have to stay on top of it, Brian, and that's why we're sticking around to give you the most exciting F words that you've ever spoken of, and that's fundamentals. So hang around, Brian. So, but anyway, God's Elf. Who else have we got?
X-Man, but I don't see him. Disappeared. Don't know why these people keep disappearing. X-Man, are you in the audience? Do you have a question? Oh, I guess not. Nana D.
Nana D. I love a Nana. How are you, Nana?
I'm good. Thank you for taking my question. Sorry, just choked on something. I was wondering about we'll just say once upon a time, I entered into a forbearance agreement because we had some severe medical issues, and that was the only option other than losing the house. Will anything happen from, I obviously paid it over time and straightened everything out, but will I get any of that back?
That is one that's very specific, honey. And it's one of those ones that's not, I don't exactly look into. Axeman, you're just going to wait for a bit, darling. So Nena, that is very, very specific. I would have to discuss it and look into it a little bit further for you.
Okay.
It's one of those ones that, like I said, it's not one that, you know, I do a broad spectrum of everything, Nena, but you can certainly catch up with me and I'll get some more details from you and then we can go from there. So, but yeah, sorry, Nena. Axeman, how are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, Mel.
What's happening?
Okay, well, no doubt you are aware, you know, the new appointee for Victoria. I actually believe that this is like a complete white hat orchestrated operation, because if you look at it, it just seems like it's exactly the same playbook that they used for the for the other premiers like McLeod and, you know, Gunner, and also that pallet of shit up in Queensland, right? Particularly because, like, pallet of shit said, you know, I think there was someone was resigning or whatever, and then someone in the press said, "Oh, so what about you? Are you leaving too?" And she goes and says, "Oh, I'm not going anywhere. I love my job." And then a fortnight later, lo and behold, here it is, still in the presser, on the gay stream media, in tears, saying it's resigning, you know, because it hasn't got the heart anymore and wants to spend more time with the family. Now, prior to that, you also had that Gunner, Michael Gunner, the Premier for NT. Now, seriously, if there is ever a Gestapo, you know, like bureaucrat, he is it. He loves his job, right? But then, what's he doing? He's going, "Oh, no, I just haven't got the heart anymore. I want to spend more time with the family." McLeod, same deal, right? And then, so it was the same thing with Alan. And it's funny because the Whiteys built all this bullshit up, right? You know, in the media we're going, "Oh, is it possible?" Because the media morons are going, "Is it possible that Jacinda Allen may resign?" "Oh, no," and then, you know, over to her, "No, I'm not going anywhere." Yada yada yada. Next thing you know, push comes to shove, and not only that, but also Carol Benjamin, right? You know, the old invert that's taken its place. He actually said that he wasn't interested in running for the to be premier. There was no one that was interested, because that Kilkenny, the Attorney General, she also said, "No, I'm not. I'm supporting Jacinda Allen." Yada yada yada. Then lo and behold, it gets to the day, and Carol Benjamin's been appointed. Right now, isn't it funny that not soon after this appointeeship, that all this crap about bloody Fauci comes out? I mean, like, Facebook is just littered with, like the Fauci lies and all that.
So we are at the 47-minute mark. It looks like we got about 26 minutes.
That sort of caper. Now, I reckon that was deliberate, because Carol Benjamin, well, I'm sure you'd know this yourself, but if you research what he was all about, he was involved in the WEF. You know, so he was, I can't recall what position it was. It was obviously hierarchical. But the thing is, now he's actually been appointed as the Premier for Victoria, and he's also involved in the WEF. I believe he's going to have to answer to that at some point, because I tell you what, there is not one, I've not seen any supporting comment on his Facebook posts in regards to Carol Benjamin and his appointeeship as the new boss of Victoria. They're all going.
I get all that, Axeman, but this is a Q&A. So unless there's a real actual question, I got people lining up to ask a question. I get what you're saying, and you're identifying this is an actual white hat operation. I get that completely. But we've just lost 20 or 30 odd people there because we love these chats, but this is a Q&A. So I do apologize for that. But yes. Anyway, God's help, who else have we got up, honey?
Hey, people, please just ask the question. We're running out of time here. Vicky Victorious.
Hey, Scott, God's elf, and hi, Mel. I didn't get a chance to make a comment or ask you about. You were talking about Chase and Jamie Dimon and the skyscraper and all that on the last chat. Do you know, or is it true that during the height when the silver and everything was exploding, that they supposedly moved their silver desk to Singapore and sent families over there? Okay,
Correct.
I just wanted to make sure that that was still happening. My
still
question,
happening.
so my question tonight is, nobody's talking about Jay Clayton. So you know what I'm going to say. Trump today, or whenever it was, I just saw a clip. He's like, yeah, he's been with this firm XYZ for a long time, but he is now the director of national intelligence, the one who was on the SEC that kind of ripped Ripple Labs at the kneecaps, and then he left and gave Bitcoin a free ride and still has a free ride. So you know what I'm talking about. So can you explain any of that? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Thank you.
The XYZ. Oh my goodness. It's like the 24th, 25th, and 26th letter of the alphabet. It is one of those ones that there's a lot of things, Vicky, that you look at and you just go, please explain. I'd really like an explanation from DJT from that one. President Trump, if you are listening, please explain to us what that is all about. I did see that and I thought, well, that's really interesting. Or is President Trump about to reveal Clayton? Is this going to be a Clayton's moment where we drink a bit of Clayton's whiskey and go, oh, that was interesting. So we'll wait and see, Vicky. But yeah, I did see that. Yeah, just had a little chuckle. Anyway, God's help, where we're going now.
Ian Gab.
Hi, Mel. How you going?
I am very well. How are you? It's been a long time, bro.
It has. My question is about when they revalue currencies like the dong. I'll talk about the dong specifically, but it would apply to other currencies that aren't worth much. A loaf of bread now is 5,000 to 10,000 dong, but with the revaluation, it's going to be perhaps a few dong, like everywhere else. My question is, their lowest denomination is 100 dong. How will it work when they're buying small items and they don't yet have the currency to give change?
Okay, so within country, so what happens there? Oh, sorry about that. I just kicked my stand. So what happens with that, Ian, is that with inside the country, there is a revaluation inside the country. And the $100 is actually going to be worth $1 or $10, depending on the amount of power that the currency within that country. They will do calculations inside the country. It's like if you go to Turkey and you have the smaller denominations but are very expensive to purchase, a 20 lira, so to speak. So it works exactly the same way in country. The lowest denomination, that of course being 100, thank you for bringing that up. What happens is that 100 is going to be equivalent or exchanged within Vietnam for a $10 or a $1 bill that is coming through in the new currencies that are being released within that country. But whilst that is happening, it is equivalent to as I said, whether they equate it to be worth $10 instead of $100. We see this across the park. It's just reversing whatever was previously, which I believe was $1. So they went from the 1 to 10 to 100. They just kept adding the zeros. I'm pretty sure that $100 bill from memory will go to $10 worth of value within Iraq. I hope that helps. God's Elf. Who else have we got?
Winner's Circle. Winner's Circle, did you have a question?
I do. Hi, Mel.
Hello, darling. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Very well.
Excellent. Excellent. My question is about Uphold. So I've had a comfort level until now going in and making a purchase, using my authenticator app, and I've got it set up where it just comes out of my bank account. About a week ago, I went in to do the same thing, and all of a sudden Uphold started asking me my income. It started asking me questions that I wasn't comfortable with, so I just backed out. So I wondered if you know of something happened in the last week, and was I right to do that, or is, I don't know. I'm not comfortable, so I just backed out.
It is. And honey, I'm going to give you an example of what happened with me. So Wise account had $75 that was donated through my Wise account. And for me to withdraw it, and because I'd only not long opened up the account, as soon as you go below the threshold of what was in the account to open it, they actually asked those same questions. They wanted 6 months worth of supply of income. They wanted an actual statement from Social Security, this, that, and all the rest of it. I was kind of forced into a predicament because I needed the money. So I did go ahead and actually do the process. Uphold, I'll make a note of that. I'll see if there's any other changes. Like I said, with the changes that go on within the system, they make additions to that to make sure that they're covering themselves. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? Again, like I said, if you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it for now. But understand that within a transition, there's always a couple of extra things that we don't expect or we don't feel comfortable with. Is it good or bad? Stick with your intuition and go from there. So yeah, I'll check if in the last 2 weeks, if there's any changes in Uphold. Look, I think Uphold is very good. I don't hold it I don't have it personally, but I do believe on a good authority that people who do use it don't have an issue with it. Again, it could be just a little glitch, and it's saying that you're making these regular payments. Are you certain that you're not being scammed? This, that, and all the rest of it. It could be as simple as that, but it is a little uncomfortable when we have to start, putting in our income and things like that as well. But yeah, it's something that we will go through in a little bit further depth, I think, in Finance Fridays, that I'll definitely have a look into Uphold for you. God's Elf, who have we got next?
Sarah Davis, and I'm sorry, but I'm not unmuting anybody else. Everybody that's in the queue is in the queue. Sarah Davis.
Thank you.
Hey, Mel.
Hey,
how
are you?
I'm good. So I have a two-part question. In your gut feeling, do you think that we'll have spendable cash in August? The other thing is, if we do have spendable cash, whenever that might happen, how is the best way to be able to gift somebody? Because there's somebody that's going to be homeless very soon, and I'm really wanting to help cover some of their rent if I can. I can't do it right now, but I know I will be able to.
Oh, my gut keeps churning. Again, like I said, every month that goes by, I hope and pray it is this. I'm starting to look between the 7th and the 14th of August. I chatted to
Hey, we're
some very
almost done
private
with
people
Mel.
the other day. I can say this, Sarah, based upon what I was.
We got about 14 minutes, and then we got a lot of intel to get out.
What I was invited to hear the other day, I said they told us a couple of weeks. That was actually the highest military contact that I have, and that was that contact was it's almost a week old now. So the 7th of August is certainly looking like a prosperous day, in the sense of like we would get some form of indicator from the 7th. I believe so. I'm watching these fundamentals. It's going to get a little bit hairy, scary, I think, going into the 1st of August. But I always say allow things to settle, allow the dust to settle first. Do they flip the switch on the 1st of August? Oof, I hope so. But my gut tells me, are we going to be liquid in August? We will wait and see. I'm at that point, like with everybody. I don't want to predict anything, and I don't want to go with my gut, because my gut's been wrong a few times now. But it is looking exceptional around about the 7th of August. So we'll wait and see what happens. Who else have we got, Godzell?
Okay, this individual Hungary.
Yeah, yes, I just realised.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just realised the second part to her question was about gifting on. What happens there is we do have principles within actual banks. We utilise those services where you can actually 333. Thank you very much, participants. 333. Within those services, sweetie, is that you actually ask for what we call an anonymous donation, and you can, as long as you have the person's bank details. This is one of those things, actually, now that you've asked that question. In Canada, they use emails as they're connecting to the actual person of payment. In some countries, it's done through what we call Pay ID, which is identifying the person's actual phone number. So if you know that person's phone number, an extra detail for that person, you can actually send that currency anonymously through your bank as a service. Banks do have service providers for that. As long as you have the certain amount of details, you can certainly gift on. There is ways and means of doing all of that, but there are services within those banks. Anyway, sorry about that, Godzell. There was two parts to that question.
No worries. This person had his hand raised earlier. I had unmuted them. They went out, came back in. So, O.M. Brown, you are next in line. Would you like to ask a question?
Yes. Hi, Mel. O.M. Brown from Hutto, Texas. Quick question.
Oh, I just saw.
Yeah. The other day you had another gentleman on a call, and you stated 3 different timestamps. The first one was Mel, and I put this in my calendar. Mel had spoken that the Clarity Act is voted on and passed on, I think you said July 24th. That's number 1. Number 2, yep. on Monday the 27th was the revaluation start on the 27th, and the last one was the 29th, which is today. And I put Mel had spoken that the XRP ledger activate on July 29th. I get it. Correct. Things are moving crazy, but and forgive me if you've already covered this. I was on a call.
That's quite okay, Mr. O.M. Brown. You are spot on. As I said, a lot of things are going on in the background, sir, and the actual version, I think it's version 3.2 of the actual XRP ledger, it is to go live overnight tonight. That will be setting the precedence for, as I said, the IOTA and the PICE network coming on with all the data. The data from all of that will go through the XRP ledger. So we keep adding to this. So definitely add on to the 1st of August, and where we start to see currency exchanges or connections with Syria, Libya, all of the Middle East, I believe, are going to come online on the 1st of August. That's very, very important. As I said, disconnects the dollar, the dinar and the liras and all of those currencies within the Middle East. That will take a little bit of time, my understanding is. And then, of course, we've got central banks of Nigeria. They come online, I believe, on the 4th of August. And then, of course, leading into the 7th of August, do we start to see the actual rate changes coming out, or the Clarity Act being actually completely enforced? I think the Clarity Act will be enforced on the 7th going into the 8th, or does it suspiciously just appear on the 8th of the 8th, the Lion's Gate? We will wait and see. There is an extremely amount of fundamentals in the background. And so we just got to let this unfold. As I said, always allow an extra 2 or 3 days to be implemented, and we'll go from there. But well done, and kudos to OM Brown. I am loving this, ladies and gentlemen. Make it accountable. Accountability is one thing that I always pride myself on. So, don't be shy, ladies and gentlemen. God's out. Who else have we got?
Tom, New Jersey.
Oh, Jersey.
Well,
Hi, Mel.
Hello, sir. Did you and I rock the world on Monday? Oh my gosh, oh golly gee. So
Oh,
it
yes,
is
I wanted.
great. Thank you so much for your time on Monday with Moments with Mel. It was fantastic. So what have you got for us today?
Sure. So I'd like to talk quickly about the South Korean Kospi market anomalies that's going on there. And, we understand 50% of their entire index is based on Samsung and SK Hynix. And we've seen the Kospi market has crashed 41% in just 40 days. And last night it was down 10%. Now, South Korea is holding an emergency meeting for financial authorities because of the fading AI chip boom and leveraged ETF volatility. And I think you mentioned this, but they just committed $880 billion investment package to chips, to AI, and to robotics. Now, today, we saw the Dow go down over 1,100 points, and the NASDAQ was down over 430 points. The Trump administration, they're bringing semiconductor manufacturing back to the United States under the CHIPS Acts, and they're putting import restrictions on Asian manufactured network routers. The Korean stock investors, they're uniting because they're taking a lot of losses, and they're collectively fighting for their rights. I think 360,000 margin accounts went into liquidation for Citibank, and 62% of those impacted were under 35 years old. So my question is, do you believe what's happening in South Korean markets will not stay in South Korea and potentially spread globally?
I think it will spread globally. As I said, this one that I talked about, the commercial loans and the commercial banking sector, I think that's going to be very, very critical. And what's also interesting is that we also have to be mindful that a lot of exports and imports are going to be within their own countries. So when we talk about AI infrastructure, it's going to be an interesting one to watch and digest, because inside of each country, it's my understanding that there will be not as many exports and imports in and out of countries. Each country will be self-sufficient, supported within their own country. The market, the Korean market, as I said, I think they are already won in the background. This is just relocating some of those funds. They may have been even nefarious funds, hence why they said manufacturing of chips in America. We saw this within Bitcoin as well, made in America. Again, like I said, he who controls the AI or the chips is going to control the whole system. So as I said, is this the dismantling? It's interesting. We've got to keep a very close eye on, Tom, is, like I said, the commercial bank. The restructuring of the commercial bank is going back to we, the citizens. When I think of commercial lending or commercial banking, I think of commercial structures such as housing, apartment buildings, infrastructure in the AI sector as well. I think commercial banking, we underestimate the power or the empowerment that is going to have. And this is what we're talking about. The commercial lending or the institutions of chips and things like that is all connected to commercial banking, so to speak. So it's going to be, this is part of that destructure, down 40% and another 10%. Ooh, how low does this go before they actually start to, as I said, integrate into this new system? I think it's going to be a level playing field very, very soon. Does it go to zero? Probably not, but I think it will be, in retrospect, lining up with the lending power of each of those countries as well. So South Korea, as I said, is not normally one that we often watch, but I am watching it because of this commercial bank and restructuring of their institutions who borrow through the commercial banking sector. As I said, the chips, the AI, the robotics out of South Korea, I think is going to play an extremely important part in this transition. So as I said, it comes to that level playing field where prices are being manipulated. How far did they manipulate? This is my point, Tom. We talk about manipulation and intermediaries. A lot of these chips are very, very inexpensive to actually manufacture, but it's the manipulation of the markets. So that's what we're starting to see. I don't think it's going to go to zero, to be honest. I think this is just an alteration within the markets of the manipulation between the intermediaries pushing those particular stocks, so to speak, as the market predictions come into a level playing field. So I think the next coming days is going to feel like a market crash, but I think it's just an adjustment. So we'll keep an eye on that one. But thank you so much, Tom. God's Alf, who we got?
Got two more. Smile HS. Smile HS.
I love smiles. Happy in life. Happy, happy, happy. Smiles.
Happy, happy, happy. Smile.
Smiles. Hit your big blue button if you want to have a question. Going, on. Geolite. Geolite? You have a question?
Hi, Mel.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. I wrote down my question, but then I had to go walk the dog. So my question is, if we, with the digital tokens on Lobster, do you think that when the currency revalues, do you think the digital tokens would revalue at the same time?
Yes, darling, I do. Yes.
Okay. Okay, so, I mean, they're relatively inexpensive, so.
They certainly are. As I said, everything will be adjusted accordingly, and that's what we're starting to see right across the markets. So I think the digital assets will be last. So we're going to see it in commodities, ETFs. We're going to see it right across the board, the futures, the bonds, everything will happen first, and then you'll see the adjustment come back up. And of course, I did say that gold is expected to be stronger in August as well. So that is linked, of course, to your XRP. The silver is connected to your XLM, ladies and gentlemen. You can't make this up. It is looking extremely hot. If you are in a hot state at the moment, stay cool, stay calm, stay collected. Is that all for tonight, God's Alf? Are we done? Are we ready to rock and roll?
Yes, we are done. Thank you for your time and all your information. We all love you.
Okay, we got her in, guys. Another Now video. A lot of good stuff there from Nell today. Okay, moving on to the next video, you guys. We got JM report, 18 minutes. Oh, wait. Let's do Trish video, and then we'll do.
El-Sayed. Republicans know which Democrat is easiest to beat. Abdul El-Sayed. Don't help Trump and Republicans hold the Senate.
If your basement walls are peeling, that is not appealing. So this is
Anthony Fauci. I mean, woo! Did you see any of this? I mean, what am I supposed to tell you? He just kept taking the fifth over and over and over again, 111 times today.
I don't know if you guys saw.
Yeah. Dr. Anthony Fauci taking the fifth 111.
Anybody heard this senator really chewed him out? Waited a long time for this.
11 times. I mean, unbelievable. I'll tell you, Rand Paul, he's out for blood. I mean, he was like tweeting ahead of the thing earlier this morning, like, get ready, get ready. You know, everybody was getting ready for this. It started at 8:30 Eastern. And you had Rand Paul saying after the fact, I mean, after he had even kicked the lawyer out, that was good, that, look, he really shouldn't be getting immunity, and he can't be taking the fifth. I want to go to him making the point that we need prosecution on this guy. He's not out of the woods yet.
Would you hold Dr. Fauci in contempt? Do you think that you would have the votes in the Senate to do that?
That's the vote that will happen in committee next week. It will be in contempt of Congress. We believe that with his liability, his immunity from criminal liability, that he didn't need to hide behind the Fifth Amendment, and that maybe the Fifth Amendment doesn't attach when you have a pardon in place. And that'll be a legal question. But the question on contempt will be voted on, and then there's a question of whether or not the Department of Justice will take that up. You know, I've recommended before for his criminal prosecution, and neither the Biden DOJ nor the Trump DOJ have taken it up. All I can do is recommend prosecution. I can't initiate prosecution.
But I mean, he's got an excellent point. I don't know how you take the fifth when you're already pardoned. I mean, that's kind of redundant, shall we say? I mean, he was pardoned unless they think that the pardon is no good, which, by the way, may actually be the case. I mean, clearly, this lawyer is concerned. This lawyer is concerned, and clearly Fauci's concerned enough. He has to keep taking the fifth over and over and over again. I mean, it's really pretty bad, everything that's coming out. So some of this, like I've told you guys before, I knew in February of 2020 that there was this lab in China, in Wuhan, China, and there was sort of some chatter out there that something had gotten leaked from the lab in China. Well, Fauci knew this too, and he wasn't willing to, you know, come clean on any of it. In fact, the reason he wasn't coming clean on any of it, and I didn't know this at the time, was because we were the ones that were bankrolling the lab in China. So effectively, we kind of did this to ourselves. I mean, if there's no greater lesson here, it's that you're going to run gain of function research. And this also came out today that the CIA knew this research was going on. Look, what are you doing running it in China? Like, why wouldn't you want that being run someplace where you could contain it? Someplace where they have maybe a little bit of a better standard of operating. Like, they have some operating procedures, and they're not going to actually let this stuff leak. And I guess there was also some fear that maybe it was even deliberate. I'll tell you, Rand Paul was furious today. He wanted no part of any, I mean, he was just like, you got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. You've got this lawyer here seated alongside you as you take the fifth on everything. He gets so frustrated with the lawyer, he kicked him out. He kicked him out of the hearing. Let's watch.
You are not recognized, and you are not recognized, sir. Sir, you are not recognized. You are not recognized. Security, we'll hold off, but you will respect these proceedings. You were told not to sit at the table. You insist on sitting at the table, and we told you you would not be recognized. You are not invited here for testimony, sir. You are being disruptive. Would you behave this way in a courtroom? No, because the judge would put you in jail. I can't do that today, but I can have you escorted from the premises. So I would say, sir, sit quietly and don't say another word. I said, sit quietly. You are not recognized. Another word and you're gone.
Does he say another
Mr.
word?
Chairman, I'd like to hear what the attorney has to say.
He is not recognized by the committee or the chair. If he speaks again, he will be removed from the room. This testimony is from Anthony Fauci. This is not a game with his lawyers. He can advise. His lawyers can give him advice. He's got a half dozen here. They're all allowed to talk to him.
Yes.
All right? But the attorneys are not recognized. In fact, the attorney was told not to sit at the table, and he's not obeying that recommendation. There's a row behind you, sir. That's where you were told to sit, and you're not. And now you're disrupting the proceedings. And so, look, this is the way Anthony Fauci wants to be remembered. For a lawyer not listening to the rules. That's the way you want to be remembered, and that's what you're going to do. You are not recognized, sir. Security, please remove him from the room.
So you see, he has no microphone. So you can't hear him. He gets a round of applause when they remove him. Security removes him from the room. Wow. Okay, and there he is. He's taken off. Gosh. He's like, do not say anything. Just keep on taking the fifth. Taking the fifth.
Let the
like we
record
agreed.
state that Dr. Fauci will still have the advice of the other half a dozen attorneys that he brought along today. So
The other half a dozen, he had 6 more attorneys sitting there in the courtroom. Are you kidding me? Oh, he's in trouble.
Join Planet Fitness for $1 down and get up to 3 free months of Apple Music. No commitment. Deal ends July 31st.
No more buying expensive blood glucose test strips. No more enduring the daily pain of finger pricking. This portable home health monitor simply clips onto your finger to accurately measure blood glucose.
He's definitely in some kind of trouble. Hence the 111 times of taking the fifth, even though he's been pardoned. So go figure on that. I mean, a lot of stuff is coming out. We learned about the diary, of course. He seemed to be quite obsessed with his fame, his own fame. He seemed to be quite obsessed with these awards, had basically employees helping him to get some of these awards, some of which were monetary awards. I mean, they just couldn't fling enough money at him, right? He was the guy who was going to, basically shut down the country. I listen. So many of us have so many interesting and wild stories to tell from that particular time. I mean, me, myself, and I thought it was nuts. Like, you can't shut down the country. I mean, I didn't even know how bad COVID was at the time or anything. It just seemed like it was a CNN red alert nonstop. And I thought, okay, if it's that bad, you got to have a better way to go about it. And what is the market doing, tanking 2,000 points a day? Are you kidding me? And now the president's going to shut down the entire country. He came out with a tweet today, early this morning, ahead of all this, and reminded everybody that he actually didn't shut down the entire country. He allowed for each and every state to do what it did. And so, in fairness, yeah, he went back to the federalized system. But what did these states do? Well, if they were blue, they shut everything down. Remember Gretchen Whitmer out there, in the Midwest, basically making sure that you couldn't even go to your vacation home 2 miles away, but her husband could go out on his boat. Nobody else could. But her husband, I mean, it was like such a classist thing too, because at some point you had like Obama with his parties on Martha's Vineyard, and the servers that were working the party had to wear the masks, but the party goers didn't. Or you think about Gavin Newsom and his lunch at French Laundry while he's telling everybody else to be in lockdown. Or I think about a woman who was the mayor of Chicago who said, I'm going to shut down all the hair salons. And yet she had her hair and makeup artist, lovely woman that she was. She said, well, I'm the face of Chicago. So the hair and makeup artist was coming to her house. I mean, it was really bad. It was just so bad in every single way, shape, or form. And like, you had libs that were just drunk on power, totally drunk on power. And it's all thanks to Fauci. He was giving them that power, right? So yes, Rand wants prosecution of Fauci. You also had Senator Moreno, who glommed onto the lawyer thing, right? He's like, wow, you got a lot of lawyers here. I mean, you must be in some serious trouble, buddy boy, right? Like, why do you have so many lawyers? This is pretty good. I mean, I want to show you this because Senator Bernie Moreno, I mean, he just got, I think the New York Post had a headline, he got burned. I mean, really and truly burned. That's how bad it was. So let's go to Moreno. You're in some deep, you know what. Woo!
The Constitution to my aide. He'll bring it over to you so you can have it for future reference. I think it's something that every American should know what the Constitution says. Do you know who wrote the Fifth Amendment?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution.
So you're invoking a right that you don't know who wrote it or what it says. Is that correct?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Wow. All right, let me tell you who David Schertler is for the audience, because he was ejected by the chairman. He's a high-profile criminal attorney. He's represented some really great people, like Senator Bob Menendez. Maybe that's somebody who my Democrat colleagues may remember took gold bars as bribes from the Egyptians. And there's an article here in the Washington Free Beacon that talks about why you would hire a guy like David Schertler. And the comment is, if you're in deep shit, that's who you call. Do you feel like you're in deep shit?
Whoa.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Clearly, what you think today is that somehow you're above reproach. Somehow you feel like you don't need to be treated like a normal American. Can you do me a favor in the audience and stand up if during the time of the COVID pandemic, you were called a racist for calling the virus a Wuhan virus or the China virus? If you thought the 6-foot rule was total crap, if you thought the vaccine wasn't something that you should take, if you thought it was outrageous the way the mask policy was rolled out, if you were fired from your job for not taking that vaccine, including members of the military, if you thought closing schools was catastrophically stupid, and that you thought that during these times saying these things made you somehow a lesser human being.
Wow.
Dr. French, can you just turn around and look at the people behind you? You're not willing to do that? That's not a question. It's not a question. To your lawyers, not a question. It's a request.
Wow.
All you have to do is look up from your lawyers and look at the people who were absolutely shamed for saying what we know now to be the truth. You can't even look at them? That's a question. Are you able to look at them? You can sit down in the audience.
Michigan needs conservative leaders who will fight for us. Andrew Beeler will do exactly that. He will support farmers, fight to lower costs, and stand firm.
So how much longer before we get handcuffs on them?
To protect the Second Amendment. Vote Andrew Beeler for State Senate.
We finally moved from California to Michigan, and it was the best decision we ever made, except for one thing. I'll get to that part in a second because it almost ruined everything. But first, we left Los Angeles last August, and the change was immediate.
There was a
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I'd say he's in some deep doo-doo. Okay. I think he's in a lot of trouble. I really don't think he's going to get off as easily as he'd like to. I mean, if nothing else, his legacy. The guy's quite old. He doesn't look that bad for his age, actually, but he's quite old, and he's destroyed his legacy for sure. I mean, what a dunce, right? Like, a bad dude who the power went to his head, the celebrity went to his head, the money clearly went to his head, and I think that this is the day of reckoning, and it's important. And as we talk about the party overall, the Democrats, they were so heavily aligned with him. They saw him as a conduit, a way to capture the election, to get Trump out of office. It was exactly what I always feared. And sure enough, that is what came to transpire. So I'll just tell you, Bernie Moreno, wow, for the win on that one. Josh Hawley as well. He completely destroyed him. I mean, really, just unbelievable to see today. I want to go to Senator Hawley because this is pretty much worth seeing. He really grilled the what out of him here. My goodness.
Chairman, well, nothing says honesty like taking the fifth, huh, Doc? Let's try something. What day of the week is it today?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color tie are you wearing?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people. But I think I know why you're doing it. It's because you don't want to answer questions. It's because you did all kinds of terrible things. It's because during the pandemic, you got rich, didn't you? You got rich while people were dying, hundreds of thousands of Americans, over 1 million in the end, and you were getting rich. And not only were you doing that, you were using federal employees with taxpayer money to apply for and solicit cash prizes for you personally, cash prizes totaling over $1 million. You did all of that during the pandemic, didn't you? That's a question.
Working today.
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the...
Okay. By the way, quick shout out to my company, 76research.com. Check out those model portfolios. Doing great. Really doing great. A lot better than Mr. Fauci is.
Okay, we got Tristan, one of her big ones there. I'm going to play some short ones for a bit and then get back to JM Report. And then on there.
Imagine someone receives a full presidential pardon. Later, they're called to testify about the very conduct covered by that pardon. First question is simple. Can they still plead the Fifth? They might try, but invoking the Fifth doesn't automatically end the questioning. The privilege exists to protect someone from being forced to incriminate themselves. So the next question becomes, incriminate themselves of what? If the pardon completely removes the possibility of prosecution for that conduct, a judge may decide there's no Fifth Amendment privilege left for those specific questions. At that point, the witness can be ordered to answer. And then comes the part many people never think about. What happens if the witness still refuses? The issue is no longer the original crime. The issue becomes refusing a lawful order. Depending on the proceeding, that can lead to contempt of court or contempt of Congress. In other words, the legal battle shifts. It's no longer about whether the witness committed the original act. It's about whether the witness can refuse to testify after a judge says they must.
What color is the carpet in front of you?
On the advice of counsel, I respectfully decline to answer based upon my rights under the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution.
Let's just get one thing straight. You don't have any rights under the Fifth Amendment because you've been pardoned, as you very well know. As the Supreme Court has been clear for a century and more, Brown versus Walker, 1896, when he has been pardoned, he may not stand upon his privilege. You know that. Your lawyers sitting behind you now shifting nervously in their chairs. They know it. This isn't about the Constitution. This isn't about the law. This is about contempt. Contempt for this body and contempt for the American people.
That's out of the mask video there. We got. All right, the next one is the guy from TikTok, 4 minutes. And I got a 7-minute one coming up after a new channel on YouTube.
When everyone shares everything equally. Now, it's not real. Gets free health care for every citizen. And guess who pays for it? And every time you turn around, the MAGA cult leader It's talking about how bad communism is. But Israel, free healthcare. We pay for it. Israel, free 4-year college. We pay for it. So technically, the United States is supporting a communist state. Tell me I'm wrong. Now, while it's not real, it's crowning the leader of MAGA, the Prince of Peace, giving him crowns and everything else, while the United States support their living standard, period, and supports their free healthcare, their free housing, their free schooling, in which we call that welfare over here. Communism. We're a capitalist country that supports communism to their number one ally. Why can't we have free healthcare, free 4-year schools, free housing for all in the United States? What's wrong with that? Would it be wrong if every person in the United States got something for free, got housing for free, schooling for free, healthcare for free? Would that be wrong? What's so wrong with that? Oh, that's right. A few people that make a few $100,000 a year who thinks their lifestyle is better than everyone else's don't want that. The lesser than 1% don't want everyone else to have what they have. I wonder why. But they don't complain at all about the United States sending money to Is Not Real to support them having everything that they have. For one reason and one reason only. Because they can't see it with their own eyes. Since their neighbor looks a little bit less than them, they feel like they're better than them. That's capitalism. Communism, free everything for everyone all the time, healthcare, housing, schooling. We might need to venture and check that out. It might just keep down the crime rate. Could you imagine if everyone had everything they needed and no one had to steal anything ever? No one ever had to steal a car because they had one. No one ever had to break into someone's house to take something from them because they had it. No one would ever have to steal Pampers because they had it. People would be more healthy because they'd have health care. People would be more educated because they had their educations already paid for. Capitalism equals prisonism. As long as there's capitalism, there's prisonism. And if you gave everyone everything, you would empty out the prison facilities damn near overnight. United States, huh? Best country in the world, huh? Wow.
Okay, he's good to listen to. Our new channel here I got on YouTube. 7 minutes. Name is Vanessa TV. Let me know about this new channel here.
That means your meat supply is being relocated. And the people who actually produce it are the ones being treated as the problem. They want to control the narrative on meat, and here is what they're not telling you about real ranching. So let me put this very simply to you guys. The lawsuit filed against JBS in the Netherlands treats livestock production as the problem. Greenpeace, which is a rather nutty organization, petitioned Dutch courts to force JBS to explain how its $6 billion expansion, especially a $2.5 billion investment project in Nigeria, fits in with climate and human rights responsibility. facilities. Now, on the surface, it sounds like a corporate accountability story being filed against one of the largest villains in the meat industry, JBS. But when we looked closer at this, the real target in all of this became very, very clear. The argument in this is that by expanding meat packaging capacity, that expansion also expands the supply chain feeding into it. See where this is going? That supply chain are farmers and ranchers. This same flawed logic showed up in Latita James's court case against JBS. She sued them over net zero by 2040 claims. She sued them over those claims because the company had planned to grow more. Now that case actually settled for $1.1 million. These cases are treating livestock production itself as the core problem. None of these cases decipher that how the animal is raised actually matters. Now, these lawsuits, some people would say that they risk setting a precedent. I would say that they intentionally are setting a precedent against the entire supply chain.
Guys?
Their intent is to burden the entire supply chain. They want to make it harder for producers to operate without jumping through regulatory and corporate hoops. Guys, when regulators and activists treat cattle producers, hog producers, poultry producers as the problem, then it's the producers, the farmers, and the ranchers who become the target. Now, while this legal pressure is building, JBS is quietly closing plants across the United States. Well, you say quiet, but the noise gets a little loud every time they shut one down, and then it simmers. You probably remember that just last month in June, JBS announced its closure of its plant in Pennsylvania, Soderton, Pennsylvania. They also closed a value-added facility in Tennessee. Yeah, what is it? Hundreds of jobs gone. Now, that actually followed earlier moves by JBS, like the Riverside, California plant. Because of moves like this, tighter cattle supplies and higher costs are becoming very real to the consumer. When I look at this, I see a pattern that's hard to ignore. Capacity is being reduced here, while massive investments and capacity growth are being made overseas. For ranchers and farmers, when we see capacity restrict here, that means that they've got longer hauls, higher freight costs, fewer local options. And for all of us, it's growing more dependence on a globalized system. They want to make us dependent on a global system. Now, we've already seen numerous times on this channel what a fragile supply chain looks like. Globalization like this makes them more fragile. Now that Nigeria...
I'm going to play about quite a bit of short ones, and I got 2 more 15. He has a new one that just came out, 15 minutes. We'll play him. And then the JM Report 17. Those are the 2 longest ones, and the rest will be...
Nigerian project is framed as a food security investment. And no doubt Nigerians need food security. But local groups on the ground are saying that, quite honestly, the details are thin and the risks are pretty high, especially for smallholder producers and traditional
Probably
land
about
use.
6:15.
As we all know here in the United States, once large-scale industrial processing gets its roots in, it tends to, reshape the entire surrounding production system. Like I said, we've watched this play out here in the United States for decades. Now these same forces are being exported for globalization. So here's what almost never gets said in these lawsuits and these headlines. Livestock, when raised correctly, can rebuild soil, increase organic matter. They can even sequester carbon. They're not a polluter. Regenerative grazing and holistic management, they're not just slogans. They have measurable results. They are measurable practices. Studies of well-managed operations of producers show meaningful reductions in net greenhouse gas emissions. On Yanasa TV, we're seeing it with our own documentation, following bison ranchers, following, a lot of farmers across this country. We've seen it for years. We've shared it with you guys for years. Healthy grasslands, better water retention, more biodiversity. Ruminants like cattle and bison are not automatically the villains that these lawsuits paint them out to be. I mean, it's really kind of the management system that determines the outcome, right? That is a distinction that I have personally recognized is always missing from legal and media narratives. Now, big corporations push global scale. Easy to attack. Regulators and activists then step in and push rules, broad rules that treat all livestock producers the same. Then ranchers and farmers are left navigating both these corporate conglomerates and these regulators and activists, the ones stuck holding the bag in it all. The receipts are showing us that plant closures are here in the US. They show us that expansion for these mega corporations is abroad. And unfortunately, the receipts show that these lawsuits aren't necessarily on them, but the entire supply chain. If you're a farmer or a rancher, it's against you. Guys, support the producers who are actually stewarding our lands. Demand transparency that protects independence, not just corporate compliance. This is Yanas TV. We follow the documents, we follow the land, we follow the people who work it. Stay tuned in for more videos like this.
Get free delivery during...
So I'll play him more often. I might not be able to get his new one today, but we'll save it for tomorrow. I'm gonna try to get about 20 short ones and then finish off with the extra for the GM report. Nick's mom.
To run these stabilized houses, that mom and pop landlords literally walk away. They say, I can't manage this. The property has been their family for generations. A lot of smaller landlords cannot keep up with the regulatory pressure of maintaining stabilized housing. Just give it up. The regulatory requirements of keeping records and filing certain things, making certain repairs, dealing with complaints. They basically empowered crazy cat ladies and like random insane people to torment property owners. We move a building that nets, $20,000 of rent in a year and has $100,000 of violations a year because you didn't fix the paint the way they want you to, or whatever it is. What do you do? You just end up losing the building. They take it away through regulatory takings.
You just surrender. You surrender your property. And that is what he basically wants us to do. Just give up.
Watch this. He's going to take it over the government, and then it's going to be sold to private ownership that takes it for $1 but promises to maintain it. And you're going to see, hilariously enough, that all these private owners are named Muhammad or Zara or whatever other Muslim name you want, where he's basically going to transfer his cronies. If this was in Russia or somewhere else, it's like the landlords would just be hiring hitmen to go after these people. But instead, they're just quietly suffering. Some are selling to mid-sized conglomerates that are a little bit better at just maintaining the records because they have a bigger staff. And others are just going to start giving them up. He took this thing that was built by the rich, that was built by the successful, and he's draining it of assets. It's not his to give up. It was never his to destroy, but it's his now.
But it's his now.
I think his goal is...
Okay, Nick's mom there. This one's 9 minutes. I forgot about this one. 9 minutes.
Some groundbreaking news for you. Holy macadamia nut. You love her, I love her. Mentally Ilhan Omar. Minnesota fraud mastermind Amy Bach just revealed that Somalia Representative Ilhan Omar knew about the $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scandal. Check this out. Wow.
Fox News alert: Ilhan Omar missed Tuesday's deadline for Minnesota Republicans to turn over documents in the Minnesota Feeding Our Futures fraud scandal. Democrats blocked an effort to subpoena the Congresswoman, all as we learned that Omar's name came up 6 times in the case against Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future. Now, Bach spearheaded the scheme, which stole federal funds intended for children and was convicted of wire fraud, conspiracy, and bribery. Ilhan Omar's name first came up in an email chain with Bach back in February 2021. The subject line read, "Help with USDA food program," in a message to Omar's office. Now, about 2 weeks later, Bach emailed Omar's office with the subject line, "FNS approves Minnesota school PEBT plan." Then 1 day later, Bach exchanged messages with this Feeding Our Future employee who fled.
Something must have happened with. Hold on, I got to reset it.
The country after he was indicted in 2022.
I'll try again, see what this time, how it works.
Bach just revealed that Somalia Representative Ilhan Omar knew about the $250 million Feeding Our Future fraud scandal. Check this out. Wow.
Fox News alert, Ilhan Omar missed Tuesday's deadline for Minnesota Republicans to turn over documents in the Minnesota Feeding Our Futures fraud scandal. Democrats blocked an effort to subpoena the Congresswoman, all as we learned that Omar's name came up 6 times in the case against Amy Bach, the founder of Feeding Our Future. Now, Bach spearheaded the scheme, which stole federal funds intended for children and was convicted of wire fraud, conspiracy, and bribery. Ilhan Omar's name first came up in an email chain with Bach back in February 2021. The subject line read, "Help with USDA food program," in a message to Omar's office. Now, about 2 weeks later, Bach emailed Omar's office with the subject line, "FNS approves Minnesota school PEBT plan." Then 1 day later, Bach exchanged messages with this Feeding Our Future employee who fled the country after he was indicted in 2022. The subject line of their emails was Ilhan's office, and the emails kept flowing after that. In March, Bach emailed Omar's office again about the state's school food program. There were also text messages between Bach and Omar's office, which was uncovered during a raid of Bach's Minnesota house. Now, while we know Omar's office was communicating with a now convicted fraudster, we don't know the contents of those messages or if Omar herself engaged in any wrongdoing. In a jailhouse interview with Fox, this is how Bach described those conversations.
Did you have any conversations with Ilhan Omar that make you kind of think twice now?
I've never actually spoken to her. I had spoken to members of her office. It was always really general, mostly pertaining to how the Department of Education was handling applications. And the approval or denial of those. There was nothing of any substance pertaining to claims or meal counts or fraud or anything like that.
But Omar's ties to Feeding Our Future don't start and end with Amy Bach. She also had close ties with one of the restaurants convicted of stealing $16 million, Safari Restaurant. Back in 2018, she celebrated her primary win at the very spot. And records show she spent nearly $10,000 in campaign funds there between 2018 and 2020. It's over $3,000 a year. The food must be so great to spend that much at a restaurant. And check this out. We unearthed this 2020 video of Ilhan Omar on Somali TV working inside Safari Restaurant. And while she speaks exclusively in Somalian, we were able to make out these words: pandemic, Meals Act, and Safari Restaurant. The chair of the Minnesota Fraud Committee also revealing Ilhan Omar received donations from several Feeding Our Future defendants. And that last name on the list right there, that's a former staffer for Omar who pled guilty to fraud.
Yeah, I'm sure she knew nothing about it, right? I'll buy that for $1. Here's Nick Shirley right here, who spoke recently saying she's the most despicable person he's ever come across. Watch this.
Ilhan Omar. Is she really, out of all of them? She has been so silent about this fraud that it speaks so much as to how involved she is in the fraud. If she had nothing to do with the fraud, she would be able to defend herself. But instead of defending herself. She's gone completely silent, not even trying to work with anybody who's exposing the fraud. She knows that billions and billions of dollars has been lost, but she won't even work with investigators, or she won't even work with local media, and she won't even. They gave her the option to. They gave her a final date to say, give some of the information about the Feeding Our Future fraud that she's involved in. She couldn't give any information. I mean, she lost $29 million over the since I.
That sounds exactly like what happened in California, where Dr. Oz and Bobby Kennedy both said that they shut down like over 200, 500 hospices, which were all fraudulent, and not a single one called and said, why did you shut this down? We're legitimate. So taking away all bias, okay? I know some people watching this might be like, oh, you're such a MAGA this, you're just a Trump, troll or whatever. No. Take away all bias. Take away all bias. Wouldn't you think if she truly loved America, truly represented Minnesotans, truly represented her constituents, she wouldn't be like, holy mackerel, you uncovered what? At the very least, let's give Nick Shirley zero credit, okay? Let's just say he is a troll. Let's just say, which I don't believe that. I think he's amazing. He deserves the Pulitzer Prize. Let's say, because that's all they do is they attack him and saying he's just a weird, creep creeping into daycares. They're not going to show you what's going on if you creep in with a microphone. Okay, let's say he's a creep. Just the mere fact that there has been some echoes, some rumblings that something is amiss. Wouldn't you at the very least, if you were a true representative, wouldn't you at the very least say, hey, let me just at least look into this and see what's going on? It seems to be getting a lot of airplay, a lot of virality. Let me at least kind of address this and investigate. No, not one. She just attacks, personal ad hominem, calls him a racist, just like they all do. The same thing that they all do, the Democrats. They just cry. It's racist to fight crime. It's racist to discover fraud. It's racist to want, to help people who had violent acts committed on them by illegals. It's racist to close the border. Everything's racist. Well, check this out. I think this is probably one of the most extreme measures I've seen. Representative Nancy Mace actually calling for this. She posted this on X. Ilhan Omar, Sri Tanandar, Pramila Jayapal, all born in foreign countries. None were citizens by birth, all sitting in the United States Congress, all making clear every single day their loyalty is not to America. So she has actually introduced a new initiative going through Congress right now to basically say that natural-born citizens only are allowed to serve in the United States governor. I don't know. I feel like we're living in very strange times. I feel like this should kind of be a no-brainer, but I don't know. Let me know how you guys feel about this. I haven't had a lot of time to dig into what the actual provisions entail, but I'd really like to hear your thoughts on all this. Do you think that only people natural-born citizens of the United States should be able to serve in the United States government? Let me know what you think in the comments. And I couldn't talk about mentally Ilhan Omar without getting the master troll, the master himself, President Trump. This wasn't even that long ago. This was only a few days ago. President Trump talking about mentally Ilhan Omar. Check this out.
Without you, we have Somalia. Okay, a fine place where we have a congresswoman who brilliantly came over to the country by marrying her brother. That was the first law she broke. That was the least of them. And she comes from a country where they have nothing but crime, bedlam, filth. A horrible place. They say it may be the worst place. Comes to our country and then she tells us how to run the United States of America. It's an amazing thing. Ilhan Omar. It's an amazing thing how they can get away with it. And the people don't want that to happen. And hopefully you'll figure it out. But a very terrible thing. I can't stand it. She says, the Constitution gives me certain rights. Go back to your own country, talk about a Constitution. They don't have a Constitution. They never will.
Without you, we have Somalia. Great country. Here's my question, right? If you love being Somalian so much, why are you here? It's obvious you hate America, right? She always talks bad and complains nonstop. Why don't you go back to your country if you hate it here so much? I agree, Mr. President. They cry that there's white supremacy, Nazis, racism. All they do is downplay, downgrade.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. 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 You're fired. 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 You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Okay, that's a new guy I don't normally play, but he had Omar on there.
I'm going to talk about it. In August of this year, a news story broke that a kind of startup company out of Austin, Texas, had created a drone called a Campus Guardian Angel to respond faster than police to an active shooter on school campuses. That sort of, it was in the news for like a day, wasn't really carried nationwide. But 6 days ago, at Conway High School in Arkansas, this thing was tested, obviously in a fake active shooter drill. So I want to just sort of talk to you about this. Listen, I'm all for keeping kids safe. Essentially, you know, what this is going to do is it gets on, it has like a loudspeaker component to it. It engages this shooter, tells him to obviously, you know, drop the weapon, get on the ground, all of those kinds of things. And then if they don't, it essentially incapacitates them with some kind of pepper spray, bear spray. They're working on different kinds of spray. The drone can go anywhere from 110 to 120 miles an hour, and it can be on target in about 5 seconds and then engage the target in 15 seconds. I don't know how I feel about this. Y'all know I used to be a drone operator. I'm not like anti-drone. I'm not anti-school safety, but a couple things about pepper spray and kids. If pepper spray gets into a kid's system that has asthma, I've been sprayed with pepper spray before as part of my FBI training, that can cause a pretty severe asthma attack. And I know, you know, we're assuming kids are away from the threat, away from the target. Some may be, some may not be. It also creates a cloud. There's gel pepper spray, but that's not what these drones would be equipped with. Now, in terms of it getting there quicker and the conversation that it can have, that's a good thing. And obviously it keeps people out of harm's way and saves the lives of children if it's getting there quicker. I'm just concerned that this hasn't been tested enough, in my opinion. And then what if the active shooter shoots the drone? I just think that there's just so many things that, in my opinion, can go wrong in something like this. And so I don't feel that it has been tested enough for schools to use. Is an interesting concept. I'm surprised we're not talking about it more. That's why I wanted to bring it to y'all's attention.
Okay, one more with her. A regular one. I'm gonna play XQ Report 24 and then the 15. Well, I got two big ones I want to set. Because I'm not going to be back on till tomorrow evening, guys, about 6 o'clock tomorrow. So I want to stay up a little longer here. I'm going to stay up a little over 4 hours.
Which is located in northern Michigan. It's been around since 1928, and it is a very elite fine arts institution. They offer camps, they offer schooling courses. It's really designated for the fine arts. 70 firsthand accounts of sexual abuse. The New York Times did a story on this today. And there's something bigger that I wanted to talk about. There's also an issue for me locally in Texas with Plano ISD. A teacher was arrested, a second grade teacher, for repeated sexual contact with a child, and they think that there are more children that are involved. But when I look at these stories online and I look at what people are saying about them, one of the things that keeps bothering me, especially about the interlocution, is this wouldn't have kept happening if people didn't come forward sooner and report this. We need to stop as a society, because I'm certainly not blaming society for this abuse, but I am blaming for society a little bit in terms of why people are scared to come forward. I cannot speak a lot about what happened to us as a family. I did sign an NDA, but I have to tell you, the fallout that I experienced from my community as a result of taking on a beloved institution is horrific. I am not saying that everyone in my community treated me this way, but a lot of people did. And I think people assume that we want these institutions to fail. No, we want these institutions to continue. That is why we come forward when there's improper behavior like this, to ultimately make them better and to last a long time. And so I bet that some of these individuals did not come forward earlier because they were scared about the repercussions of what that might be. And I know that simply because I lived it. And so I think as a society, I think we need to create a bit more of a welcoming place for people to be able to do that. I understand that you love your institution. We don't want to hear bad things about them, but no institution is perfect, and we have to be open and willing to have these discussions. And by people coming forward earlier, it will save more children from harm.
Okay, 2 good ones from her. I got 2 with the other lady. Then we'll do the other 2 big videos.
Jim Merchant, late night. Just getting out and see the crowd. Hey, everybody. Voted down the rule on FISA, which is the secret courts. We tried to negotiate a 6-week, which I was a little leery of. And the dadgum bill comes out, it's a 3-year bill. So, anyway, it didn't go. So, we, as they say, voted down the rule. And there's little Lauren Bobert. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Merchant.
Hey, everybody.
Hi. You get a random traffic stop.
And then, anyway, it's late. Hey, guys. It's Merchant. Everybody say hey. Yes, hey, man, you know, they film all that stuff in a Hollywood studio. We really didn't go to that. Anyway, folks, I'm tired, so we'll be back next week.
You know, listen up.
Okay, that was another good one.
And it was on February the 28th. This year we have 3. So we had a 6-planet parade on February the 28th of this year. And we had a mini parade with 3 planets on June the 11th through the 15th. And our next planet parade, which will consist of 6 planets, is on August the 12th this year. Not only that, but we are going to have a total solar eclipse, and we're going to see a meteor shower. There have been so many signs this year, but this one I'm looking forward to, because this year we are seeing a lot of signs in the skies. Listen up. So do y'all remember last year?
Good ones there from her today. Okay, we got the first of 2 left.
July 30th, 2026. Hello, I am John Will Chambers, and this is your Daily War Report. I ask you to listen with love, as where we go one, we go all. Some important announcements before we begin. Launching in September is Board of Truth, a monthly broadcast with a panel of board trustees from a military, intelligence, and economic background, where each month we will analyze and break down these very, most critically valuable and important war reports. Also, don't miss Fireside Chat with JMC. Premiere launches Friday, July 31st at 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, part of this war report that I will be going over in just a moment was broken down by the Global Defense War Military Panel this morning here in my studio in Thailand as we recorded Global Defense War's monthly panel. It'll be published any day now. Sign up for free, jmcbroadcasting.com, hit subscribe, and go to the follow tab and find your favorite platform to follow us on. Rumble, YouTube, X, whatever it may be. Let's begin. War Report. Sovereignty Decree. The Strategic Marker. Trump 2028. the executive restitution of the original 1787 Constitution, and the public international law annulment of presidential term limits, the constitutional deconstruction of the illegal 22nd Amendment, material restoration of the primal republic of sovereigns, and the mathematical precision of the Allied transformation corridor leading toward the year 2028, Allied enforcement protocol. Let's break it down. Let's begin. Very important. Number one, the historical and constitutional deconstruction of the 22nd Amendment. The media strategic infiltration of the broadcasting space executed by Supreme Commander Donald J. Trump via the synchronized release of the Executive Code Trump 2028 marks the official signal for the final phase of legal reconstruction. Within the original Constitution of the United States of America, ratified back in 1787, a limitation of presidential terms was never indeed or legally established at any time. The tradition of a maximum of 2 terms was based exclusively on the voluntary waiver of George Washington and possessed 0 codified statutory power. It was not until 1947, through the hidden intervention of the infiltrated networks of the deep state, that the so-called 22nd Amendment was initiated and anchored within the civilian system back in 1951. From the perspective of Allied military planning under the Department of Defense Law of War Manual, this amendment constitutes an illegitimate and unconstitutional restriction of the sovereignty of the American people. The anchoring of this statutory restriction served exclusively to insulate the administrative proxy shells of the U.S. corporation of 1871, permanently preventing the seating of a genuine people's president. The strategic engagement of the marker, Trump 2028, delivers public international law verification that the Allied receivership is executing the complete annulment of this legacy control software. Fraud retroactively and optionlessly obliterates any civilian statutory law layer built upon it. The exact millisecond forensic disclosure occurs. Remember, fraud vitiates everything. Number 2, the re-engagement of the original Constitution and the Allied alibi for the 3rd term. The material execution of a regular presidential candidacy by Donald J. Trump in the year 2028, which de facto defines his 3rd legitimate term of office, rests upon the exact blueprint of the Allied end game: the unveiling of intelligence hardware. A constitutional election under genuine land law in the year 2028 demands the comprehensive shattering of the legacy electoral fiction inside the brightest spotlight, leading presentation of evidence regarding the systemic electoral forgery of 2020 and the foreign cyber infiltration by the People's Republic of China will be broadcast globally via the EBS, or Emergency Broadcast System. The collective awakening of the population establishes the unassailable international law baseline to administratively wind down the insolvent civilian U.S. corporation of 1871. The executive blockade of presidential emergency foreclosures, freezing all financial and logistical resources of the legacy establishment, utilizing the explicit levers, once again, of Executive Orders 13818 and 13848, guarantees that the civilian matrix is completely drained of liquidity by 2028. Any commercial leverage, UCC, held by the adversary evaporates by the second, while Allied defense forces unassailably insulate the physical integrity of the territory and constitutional branches. the mathematical precision of the transformation corridor leading toward 2029. The material engagement of the marker Trump 2028 delivers absolute certainty to the awakened vanguard regarding the structural timeline of the active operation. The temporary military receivership under continuity of government, COG, provisions serves exclusively to clear the field logistically and administratively so that a completely clean, unmanipulable, and fair playing field is provided on genuine constitutional ground in the year 2028. The 3-year transformation corridor runs with mathematical exactness toward the official conclusion of the protective mandate and the flawless transition of the term on January 20th, 2029 under the Genuine Land Law. Executive mandate, the national emergency.
Okay, we got 9 minutes left. Then our last one will be the X2 report, 24 minutes.
Doctrine, the legal engagement of presidential emergency powers within the Allied operation, the constitutional activation of the National Emergencies Act, NEA, unveiling of the over 120 executive statutory powers by the Supreme Commander, and the enforceable hardware trap against the deep state. Allied enforcement protocols, let's break this down. Number 1, the constitutional nature of national emergencies under asymmetric warfare conditions. National emergency declared pursuant to the National Emergencies Act, NEA, of 1976 constitutes no civilian statutory appeal, but the lawful shifting of the entire state architecture into maximum executive execution frequencies. The exact millisecond the President of the United States officially declares such a fundamental threat matrix, the Constitution instantly grants the Commander-in-Chief access to over 120 legally codified statutory emergency powers. These instruments were deliberately predefined by Congress for absolute state crises. They empower the Supreme Commander to completely bypass regular, often gridlocked civilian legislative avenues to physically protect national security and the constitutional order of the Republic on an independent baseline. Within the parameters of fifth generational warfare, this emergency architecture establishes the covert yet unbendable foundation for the entire structural rollout managed via the alliance. A declared national emergency suspends the legacy civilian jurisdiction of the Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, within a fraction of a second, placing affected sectors under direct presidential command. Since civilian agencies and the corporate media landscape stand exposed as heavily infiltrated by the transnational networks of the deep state, the alliance deploys this constitutional shield to position its operational hardware inside the shadows of the ongoing G7 foreclosure. It represents the vital mechanism logistically insulating the unhindered continuity of government. Number 2, the executive engagement of the 120 statutory powers by the Supreme Commander. Throughout the ongoing strategic operation, President Donald J. Trump deploys these over 120 emergency powers with surgical execution to thoroughly shatter the infrastructure of the deep state inside the brightest spotlight of truth. The forfeiture guillotine of presidential executive orders. Primary spearhead of this emergency catalog constitutes the absolute authority to block and confiscate wealth assets without preceding civilian statutory court proceedings. Beneath the continuously sustained mandates of Executive Orders 13818, severe human rights abuse and corruption, and Executive Order 13848, foreign electoral interference, The adversary is stripped of all remaining operational hardware globally. Every ledger, elite endowment, and corporate account belonging to the deep state falls under the unyielding foreclosure managed via the alliance. The exclusive enforcement mandate of military jurisdiction, JAGS. Because the civilian corporate bar guild stands structurally immobilized within a vacuum due to verified complicity in systemic electoral forgery, emergency provisions engage the direct jurisdiction of the military. The Judge Advocate General's Corp, the JAG, assumes exclusive command beneath Title 10 USC. Domestic traders who weaponize major U.S. enterprises and economic elites to execute this subversion forfeit all statutory immunities. They are isolated as unlawful combatants, bypassing civilian venues to face military tribunals in the up-and-coming Nuremberg 2.0. Beneath the Uniform Code of Military Justice, UCMJ, for maximum statutory sentencing. The orbital broadcasting supremacy of the Space Force. Included within the 120 statutory emergency powers is the immediate presidential command over all domestic communication frequencies and networks. This authorizes the CTO of the Department of Defense and the Cyber Command to seamlessly prepare the EBS, the Emergency Broadcast System, to stream unedited truth directly onto every individual screen, while legacy mass media frequencies are permanently silenced. Music is about to stop. All right, be sure to watch our 2 new broadcasts here at JMC.
Okay, let's get the X2 report in. I might have one more, I'm not sure. I got I don't know how many people like Mark Z, but there's an 8-minute Mark Z video just came out on TikTok.
Job Father is about to create massive number of jobs.
Hey, have you been asking this question lately? Should I
Okay.
add crypto to my investment
We'll
strategy?
play it
You've
after
asked
this
yourself that.
one.
Everyone has. But here's what most
Oh,
people
wait.
don't know.
Well-
You can invest in crypto using your retirement fund.
I guess we'll play that first, and then we'll come back to the X2. Ryan Eagle knows him a lot.
Vincent, I still can't get a word on where we're at with CMKX.
7
I
minutes.
keep hearing that Indians are paid now and positioned, waiting for a release. That's what I'm hearing from like a number of contacts, but I can't confirm them. Well, I can confirm 1 or 2 that claim that they have seen the amounts. I feel better if everybody told me that. Trisha, no, but I'll look at the site and see if I can get you some suggestions. Sorry, I'm looking at some of you guys' comments. Where are we at? 10:10. Let's get to the news so we can get to Mr. C. No bond updates again. It is painful. I like Flying Sparks Garage, Greg. And Patriot, they keep pushing me. They keep saying, oh, this week, next week, this week, next week. Patriot Snow Wolf, I'm still in the process. I think I'll be going to the bank at the same time they're ready for me because I believe they are doing a shotgun start. But taking up their offer for one is how I found out that I believe it's a shotgun start.
Good morning. Good morning.
How are you?
Surviving. We're getting to the end of this mess. I see.
I do believe we are starting to circle the drain of finished. Wait, that doesn't sound the best, does it? All right. I do believe we're approaching the finish line.
I agree. Some very good things were happening this week. Word that I've got, really talking with Sheila and all the things happening with her operation, but also from the background of the what I call the old timers, where there are a few left, telling me that they're maneuvering people around the world internationally to get ready to take down the rats and to make the payments.
And that's, I don't know if we can even talk about the Sheila check-in because I've made it a point not to mention it all week. But I mean, that felt good to know that people at those levels are suddenly being shifted and moved.
Absolutely.
I just found them.
And then everybody's like,
on
well, why didn't you
TikTok,
tell us this? Why didn't
guys.
you tell us that? It's not, some things are not mine to tell and could jeopardize other people. So I respect them.
I agree totally. That's why I've been somewhat silent on various things that have come in. But even so, I believe we're very close.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I definitely believe that is that we are very close. All right, so anything you want to share? Has anybody come knocked on your door other than getting some of these old timers that have been in this forever that are suddenly being moved, people in positions of power? Is there anything else that you've noticed? I mean, this whole Iran thing looks to be like trudging through a bog. Like we may not be moving forward, we may be moving. Pick which one it is. We can't trust the press. We don't know. Heck, we could be on the precipice of the greatest victory ever, and they're going to convince us we're not.
Well, yeah, it's unfortunate that it's taken Trump so long to figure out you cannot make a deal with people who don't want to make a deal, period. So it's not time for this to happen in a somewhat violent way, yes. But sometimes, just like with the Nazis in World War II, you have to put your foot down and say enough is enough, unconditional is the only way to go.
Guys, when we're referring to Sheila, we are not referring to Sheila Holmes. We're referring to Sheila that used to be Al Hodges' right-hand person. She is there. I don't know there's a good way for us to explain how connected, and she has spent the last couple of years working in the historic bond segment of this.
Well, she was a member of the original, I think it was 7, who filed with Al on the Bivens case. So she's got a good background.
Yes, she does. Dan, if you're out there, give Gavin our best, all those things, Sheila. Good to get a check in.
Absolutely.
Yes. What do you think makes us really close? Is Vicky's question.
Well, basically, if you look at the world picture, which is a giant puzzle in my mind, you see various things happening. The approach toward Iran of getting that resolved. Ukraine and Russia are basically close to sitting down and having an agreement, and narco-terrorism seems to be on a decline. So it looks good. I'm real pleased about it.
No, I'm very pleased about it. On my signal, if you were reading through the lines when we were talking, there's a lot of her update we can't share. The short that we can share is some very key people over the last week or two. They've started positioning folks that are very instrumental in the process. And that's the only thing I feel safe saying.
I agree. They do know that when this kicks over, it'll be immediate. So they have to be prepared.
I'm seeing some other folks. If it's going to be QFS, are our accounts insured? Do we still have the FDIC?
Yes. Yes.
Real Dobie, Mr. C, you have said in the past that there will only be one basket. Do you still believe that to be true?
That is according to the Gold Treaty and the Moscow Agreement. Yes, that is correct. One-time shot. Now, it doesn't mean there won't be further rollovers as time goes on, as other countries get prepared and ready to do it. But essentially, the signatories to the Gold Treaty will go at one time.
Now here, guys, Just Jason, the Jeeper, this is another podcaster, Intel person out there with a question. Hey, Mr. C, in regards to parity, and we've touched on this one before, and it's very confusing for some, so it's great to touch on it again. The question is, in regards to parity, how are currencies going to change to parity when we are expecting different rates on the front side, like maybe $4 for a dinar and then maybe $2.25 for a dong?
Parity refers to after the fact of the revaluation. Once the gold has been deposited at the various treasury banks, central banks, then the currency will be gold backed. And at that time, that's when the rates will be there on a parity basis. During the process of the exchanges, parity is not an issue nor is it a concern.
It probably the easiest way for me to describe that one is parity doesn't exist until you exchange it. It can't exist because it's lopsided. They told us way back when, I think Mr. C was told the same thing, that we would revalue, then we would reset, then we would have parity.
That is correct.
And I know that may be confusing, but they have to fix that, the currencies, before they can go to a parity. Then they can have parity. So think of it as you'll have a brief window where it doesn't appear to be parity until you exchange. Then you have parity.
Roy Hobbs is asking with regard to.
I think we're getting daggone.
Okay, that was only 7 minutes, you guys. I'm gonna wrap things up. I can't if I can make it up. So tomorrow between, hopefully I might be able to be 4 o'clock. I got an appointment at 1 o'clock tomorrow, so it might be 5 o'clock. I'll try to get it set up by. But I'm glad I found Mark Z there on TikTok. He just came out with that one. Okay, yep. Okay, must have been lurking. She texted me, JJ. So, thanks, mods. Michael, okay, this is Carol Tim. And what a show, what a show, what a show today. Until tomorrow evening, dinner time, we'll have another big day. And it's the 31st, July 31st tomorrow. So, everybody have a good Friday. God bless everybody. Love all. Brother, please and polite. Be safe, strong, safe. Everyone. Signing off for Thursday evening. Chico Build and Bella and Ariella. And we'll see you guys tomorrow evening sometime. Signing off.